Claire put one manicured hand over the empty chair beside my son. "This table is for people in the photos," she said. She said it with a little smile, as if she were helping me find the correct checkout lane. Behind her, a 12-foot screen cycled through pictures from the wedding. Claire laughing under a cloud of white flowers, Nathan fastening his cufflinks, Claire's parents kissing her cheeks. The bridal party lined up on the hotel steps, every face turned toward the same golden light. I looked for myself. I had been at the wedding. I had been early to the wedding. I had carried safety pins, antacids, breath mints, tissues, 2 phone chargers, and the groom's missing cufflinks to the wedding. The deep blue dress I'd bought for it was still rubbing a raw place under my left arm. But I wasn't on the screen. Nathan sat on Claire's right, staring down at a cup of coffee he had not touched. For one foolish second, I waited for him to move Claire's hand and say, "That's my mother's chair." Instead, he gave a tight little laugh. "Mom, there are more seats by the coffee station." I kept my hand on the chair back. The room was full of adults pretending to be fascinated by scrambled eggs. "Nathan," I said. He finally looked up. His face held the same plea it had held when he was 14, and I caught him climbing through his bedroom window after midnight. "Mom, please," he said softly. "Don't make this a thing." That was when I understood that he knew it was a thing. 24 hours earlier, I had still believed the weekend was going well. Not perfectly. Weddings don't go perfectly unless everybody involved is heavily medicated or lying. But well enough. I had arrived at the Fairmont at 7:45 Saturday morning, carrying a garment bag, my emergency tote, and a cardboard tray of coffees labeled in handwriting, so cramped it looked like a medical warning. The lobby smelled like lilies and industrial lemon cleaner. Somewhere behind the ballroom doors, a vacuum cleaner screamed. Nathan came out of the elevator in dress pants, socks, and an undershirt. "Tell me you have coffee. I have coffee. Tell me one is mine, one is yours." He kissed my cheek, took the tray, and immediately handed Claire's vanilla latte to his best man, Marcus. "That one has the V on it," I said. Marcus froze with the cup halfway to his mouth. "V for very masculine? V for put it down if you want to live." He put it down. Nathan laughed, and for a moment he was simply my son, sleep-deprived, handsome, and still somehow surprised that buttons were required on formal shirts. He had his father's dark eyebrows and my habit of chewing the inside of his cheek when he was worried. "You look nice," I told him. "I'm wearing an undershirt. It's a very flattering undershirt. Claire says the florist is 20 minutes late. Then the florist is 20 minutes late. She's taking it as a sign." "Of what?" "That the day is slipping away from her." I handed him the coffee with Nathan written across the lid in letters large enough for Marcus to respect. "The day is not going anywhere. It has a schedule." Nathan smiled, but his eyes flicked toward the elevators. "Can you go up and see how she's doing?" That should have been my first clue. I had barely set down my bag, and I was already being sent somewhere. But being needed had always felt enough like being loved that I rarely inspected the difference. Claire's suite was on the 9th floor. Her mother, Denise, opened the door wearing a silk robe and one false eyelash. "Oh, thank God," she said. "A competent person. Let's not spread that around." Inside, the room looked as if a department store had lost a fight. Shoes, tissue paper, makeup brushes, garment bags, champagne glasses. 4 women in matching robes moved between the bathroom and windows. All of them were adults, but the air had the crackling panic of a theater production 5 minutes before opening. Claire stood near the bed in a white robe, very still, while a stylist pinned sections of her blonde hair into place. She was beautiful even without the dress. Not soft, beautiful. Precise, beautiful. Every feature looked decided. "The flowers aren't here," she said when she saw me. Nathan mentioned it. "My bouquet was supposed to be here at 7:30. It's 8:03. "I know what time it is, Evelyn." The stylist paused. Denise found something urgent to do with a champagne bottle. Claire closed her eyes. "Sorry. I'm sorry. That came out wrong." "It's early," I said. "Everything comes out wrong before coffee." I held up her latte. Her whole face changed. You remembered the vanilla. I remember what keeps people from throwing lamps. She took the cup with both hands. I don't throw lamps. Denise from across the room said, "There was one lamp. I was 17. It was still a lamp." Everyone laughed, including Claire. The tension loosened by half an inch. That was one of the things I liked about her. Claire could be sharp, but she wasn't humorless. She could even laugh at herself, provided someone else had gone first and made it safe. When Nathan first brought her to my house 2 years earlier, she had rearranged the cheese plate because, she said, the colors looked accidentally hostile. Then she spent 20 minutes in the kitchen drying dishes I hadn't asked her to touch. She wanted to impress people and resented them for making her want it. I understood more of that than she knew. Her phone rang on the bed. She looked at the screen. The florist. "See?" I said. The day has returned. It had not returned. The delivery van had gone to the Fairmont in another town 40 miles away. Claire stared at me while the florist explained this through the phone. Her expression went blank in a way I had learned meant the panic had become too large to show. "I can go meet them halfway," I said. Denise shook her head. "You need to get dressed. I have time." I did have time, technically. The ceremony began at 4. Photographs were scheduled for 1:30. My hair appointment was at 10. Nathan had asked me, months before, to promise I wouldn't spend his wedding day working. "You're my mother," he had said. "I want you there." I had promised. At 8:20, I drove east on the interstate to meet a florist's assistant at a gas station beside a feed store. The assistant was a terrified man named Oliver who looked about 30 and apologized 19 times while transferring buckets into my trunk. "I'm so sorry," he said again. "If you apologize once more, I'll have to charge you." He swallowed. "Is cash okay?" I laughed despite myself. "Go, before another bride finds you." When I returned to the hotel, a valet opened my trunk and stared at the flowers. "Big date?" he asked. "My son's wedding." His expression changed to alarm. "Today? That's what everybody keeps telling me. I missed my hair appointment." The stylist squeezed me in between Claire's cousin and one of the women from the bridal party. Instead of the soft twist we had practiced, she sprayed my hair into something round and dependable. I looked like a senator's wife from a state without coastlines. "It's lovely," Denise said. "It could withstand weather." By then, the cufflinks were missing. Nathan called while I was stepping into my dress. "Mom, did Dad have a silver pair?" My dress was halfway over my head. "Your father had 3 pairs. Can you bring one?" "I'm in a hotel, Nathan. Your father's cufflinks are at my house." A silence. "Right," he said. "Of course." I pulled the dress down. "What happened to yours?" Marcus put them somewhere safe. In the background, Marcus said, "This feels accusatory." I opened my emergency tote and found the small velvet box I had placed there the night before. "I brought your father's blue stone pair." Nathan let out a breath. "How did you know?" "Because I met you." He laughed. "I love you." "I love you too." The words warmed me all the way down to the lobby. His room was full of men trying to fold pocket squares by watching a video on Marcus's phone. Nathan stood near the window in his tuxedo shirt, and when I gave him the box, he didn't open it right away. "You really brought Dad's?" "I thought you might want him in the room somehow." His face shifted. The happiness stayed, but grief moved underneath it like a shadow below water. "I wish he was here," Nathan said. "I know. He would have hated this hotel. He would have stolen 3 towels and complained about parking." Nathan smiled. I opened the box and fastened the first cufflink for him. His hands were shaking slightly. "You okay?" I asked. "Ask me tomorrow. You're allowed to be scared today." "I'm not scared about Claire." "I didn't say you were." He studied me. "You do like her, right?" It was such a naked question that I stopped with the second cufflink in my fingers. "Yes," I said. "I like her." "But?" "No but." "Mom." I fitted the blue stone through the cuff. "Marriage makes ordinary habits expensive." "That's all." "What does that mean?" "It means if you leave cabinet doors open now, she'll want to smother you with a decorative pillow in 6 years. Marcus called from the mirror. Can confirm. I've been married 11. Nathan laughed again, but he kept watching me. I touched his sleeve. She loves you. You love her. The rest is work. Someone knocked. A hotel employee announced that the photographer was ready downstairs. Nathan squeezed my hand. Come on, we're doing family pictures first. In the courtyard, the late September light had turned everything flattering. The brick walls looked warm instead of old. The trees had just begun to yellow. White flowers climbed an arch at the far end, apparently recovered from their traumatic trip to the wrong Fairmont. Claire stood beneath the arch in her wedding dress. Whatever else I might say about that day, I will never pretend she wasn't breathtaking. The dress was simple from the front with long, clean lines, but the back opened into lace and tiny covered buttons. When she saw Nathan, her mouth parted. For once, she forgot to arrange her face. Nathan forgot everyone else existed. I stood 10 feet away holding the empty velvet cufflink box, and I loved them both for that moment. The photographer moved quickly. Claire with Denise, Claire with her father, Alan, Claire with both parents. Nathan joined them. Then Claire's sister and brother stepped in. Spouses were added, shifted, removed. The photographer had the bright, commanding voice of a person who could arrange human beings like silverware. I waited near a stone planter. Nathan caught my eye once and lifted a finger, telling me I was next. Then Claire looked at the photographer's shot list. "We need the college group before the light changes," she said. The photographer glanced at the sky. "We've got time for immediate family." Claire was already waving 6 friends forward. "Just quickly," she said. "They're all here right now." Nathan looked at me again. I smiled and mouthed, "Go ahead." It would take 5 minutes, I thought. 5 minutes was nothing. Then Claire turned to me with sudden relief, as if she had just remembered the solution to a problem. "Evelyn, the hotel says the shuttle from the South Lot still isn't here. Would you mind checking?" The photographer raised her camera. Nathan's college friends closed around him. He gave me an apologetic look and mouthed, "We'll get one later." I slipped the velvet box into my emergency tote. "Of course," I said. "Don't worry about me." The South Lot was 6 blocks away, which the hotel described as a brief walk through the historic district. That was true if you were wearing sneakers and had no respect for clocks. In heels, carrying a tote, it felt like crossing a small European country. The shuttle sat at the curb with its hazard lights blinking. The driver had the side compartment open and was arguing with a man in a burgundy vest. "Wedding shuttle?" I asked. The driver pointed at the man. "He says I can't load here." The man pointed at the bus. "He can't load here." Behind them, 12 wedding guests stood in the sun, watching the argument with the patient interest people reserve for trouble that is not yet theirs. "My son is getting married at the Fairmont," I said. "The ceremony begins at 4. The driver folded his arms. "I've been ready." "You are in a loading zone for commercial deliveries," the man said. I looked at the hotel guests. "Is anyone here a commercial delivery?" A woman in a green dress raised her hand. Emotionally, yes. That got a laugh, even from the driver. I asked the man in the vest where the shuttle could load. He pointed around the corner. I asked the guests if they could walk 40 feet. Nobody objected. It took less than a minute to solve, but the 2 men had needed a mother in formal wear to arrive and translate movement into language. By the time I returned, the college group was gone from the courtyard. The photographer was posing Nathan and Marcus near the ballroom doors. "I'm back," I said. Nathan turned. "Everything okay?" "Everybody's on the shuttle." "Perfect." The photographer checked the screen on her camera. "Groom with best man. 1 more." Claire's wedding coordinator, a narrow woman named Paige, who wore a headset and looked personally offended by gravity, hurried over. "We need Nathan upstairs for 10 minutes, she said. "There's an issue with the processional order." "What issue?" Nathan asked. "Your Uncle Walter is refusing to walk with Claire's Aunt Susan because they met at dinner last night and apparently disagree about municipal recycling." Nathan stared at her. "I'm not making that up," Paige said. "I'll deal with Uncle Walter," I offered. Paige's relief was immediate. "That would be amazing." Nathan touched my arm. "Mom, the picture." "We have ours." We did not have ours. Uncle Walter believed recycling had been invented to make citizens wash garbage for free. Claire's Aunt Susan had called that the laziest political philosophy she had ever heard. Neither one would repeat these statements in front of me, but both kept referring to principles. I finally moved Uncle Walter 2 places back in the processional and paired him with a widowed cousin who had forgotten her hearing aids. He seemed disappointed by the lack of resistance. At 3:30, guests began filling the ceremony room. I slipped into the small room behind the ballroom where the wedding party waited. Claire stood at the mirror while Denise adjusted her veil. "You're not supposed to see her," Claire said when Nathan appeared in the doorway. "I've seen you already." "Not with the veil. You were wearing it in the courtyard. That was photography. This is ceremonial." Nathan looked at me. "Help." "You're marrying her," I said. "You help." Claire smiled despite herself. That should have warned him. I sided with the person making the better argument, even when it was inconvenient. Paige pulled Nathan away. Denise followed to check on Claire's father. For a few seconds, Claire and I were alone. She studied herself in the mirror, then looked at me through the reflection. "Is the veil too much?" "No." "You paused." I breathed. It was a thoughtful breath. I stepped beside her. "The veil is beautiful." "My mother thinks it hides the back of the dress. Your mother watched you try on 23 dresses. She has developed opinions as a trauma response." Claire laughed, then pressed 2 fingers under one eye to protect her makeup. "I feel like I'm watching myself do all this," she said. "That may be the champagne. I've had half a glass, then it's a very observant half glass." Her smile faded. "What if I don't remember it right?" I thought she meant the vows. "Remembering is strange," I said. "You'll forget the flowers you spent 6 months choosing, but you'll remember Nathan's face when you come through the door. I want to remember all of it." "You won't." She looked almost offended. "Nobody does," I said. "That's not the same as losing it." Paige called for Claire. The room filled again and the softness disappeared from her expression as quickly as it had arrived. The ceremony was lovely. Nathan cried first, which pleased Denise because Alan had bet her $20 Claire would. Claire laughed during her vows when Nathan's ring caught on his knuckle. Someone's phone rang during the final blessing with a ringtone that sounded like ducks. My seat was in the front row beside an empty chair Claire had suggested we reserve for Nathan's father. I had opposed the idea. Robert had been dead 8 years. I didn't need furniture to remind me. But Nathan wanted it, so a white rose rested on the cushion. When he passed me after the ceremony, he reached down and squeezed my shoulder. It lasted perhaps 1 second. I lived on it for the rest of the afternoon. The photographer took more pictures during cocktail hour. I made 2 attempts to join them. The first time, Paige stopped me because the caterer could not find the box of place cards. The box was under the sign-in table where Paige had left it. The second time, Claire's brother asked if I knew where Nathan had put the envelope containing the officiant's payment. I found Nathan near the elevators, and he found the envelope in Marcus's jacket. "I'm developing a reputation," Marcus said. "You earned it before noon," I told him. When we returned to the ballroom, the photographer had gone to photograph the cake. I could have asked her directly. I know that. I could have taken Nathan by the sleeve and said, "We are doing this now." But the room was full of people waiting to congratulate him. Claire was calling from across the dance floor. The band leader wanted to confirm their entrance. Everyone needed one small piece of him, and I told myself a photograph was just a photograph. At dinner, my assigned seat was at table 6 with Uncle Walter, the widowed cousin who could not hear him, and 3 of Nathan's co-workers. Claire's parents sat at the long central table with the newlyweds and the wedding party. Nathan had told me months earlier that I would sit with them. I checked my place card twice as if another name might appear beneath mine. Paige saw me looking. "We had to make some adjustments," she said. Apparently. The head table had an exact visual balance. I'd hate to disturb its balance. She either missed the tone or respected it enough to leave. Uncle Walter spent the first course explaining to one of Nathan's co-workers why glass bottles were a scam. The widowed cousin smiled at the wrong moments. I drank white wine and watched my son lean toward Claire whenever she spoke. During the parent dances, Nathan came for me. "There she is," he said, holding out his hand. "I've been at table 6. He winced. "I know. I'm sorry." Claire said the coordinator moved things. The coordinator says the table needed visual balance. What does that mean? I assume my head is the wrong shape. He laughed, then realized I had not. The band began an old Motown song Nathan loved because Robert used to sing it badly while grilling. He put a hand at my waist. For 3 minutes, I had him to myself. "You having fun?" he asked. "Of course." "You sure?" There it was, an opening no wider than a needle. I could have told him. Instead, I saw Claire watching from the head table, smiling with her lips while her eyes moved toward the photographer. "I'm sure," I said. Nathan kissed my forehead when the song ended. The photographer captured that. I saw the flash. For the rest of the night, I believed there would be at least one picture. Near 11, Claire found me gathering abandoned glasses from the table where her cousins had been sitting. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I know." She had changed into a shorter white dress and draped a pale wrap around her shoulders. One corner hung lower than the other. "Your clasp is coming loose." She turned. "Where?" I showed her the tiny silver hook pulling away from the fabric. "Oh no, this was my grandmother's. Take it off before it tears." She hesitated, then slipped it from her shoulders and gave it to me. "Do you think you can fix it?" "I have a sewing kit upstairs. You're a lifesaver." She kissed my cheek and hurried back toward the dance floor when someone called her name. I folded the wrap carefully and carried it to my room. The next morning, I sewed the clasp back on while sitting near the window in my robe. The stitches were small and nearly invisible. My own mother had taught me that repairs should not call attention to themselves. At 10:15, I took the elevator down to the Brunch with the wrap folded over my arm. The ballroom had been transformed overnight. The candles were gone. Morning light exposed stains on the carpet and glitter beneath the tables. A buffet stretched along one wall, and the large screen showed photographs the photographer had edited before sunrise. I saw the empty chair beside Nathan and walked toward it. Claire's hand came down over the chair back. 30 seconds later, Nathan was asking me not to make this a thing. I took my hand away. "Of course," I said. I laid Claire's repaired wrap across the empty chair. She glanced at it, then at me. "You fixed it?" "Yes. Thank you." Nathan rubbed his thumb against the handle of his coffee cup. I waited. Neither of them said anything else. At the small table near the service doors, I sat with 2 people from Alan's accounting firm and a woman named Joni, who had attended the wedding as someone's date, but was no longer certain whose. She was wearing sunglasses indoors. "I made a tactical error with champagne," she told me. "So did France." She lowered the glasses and looked at me. "You're funny." "Why were you hidden over here?" I unfolded my napkin. "I'm not in the photos," I said. Joni glanced at the screen, then toward the large table. Her mouth tightened, but she had the kindness not to make me comfort her reaction. A server came by with coffee. I asked for some, though my hands had begun to shake. On the screen, Nathan danced with me, his face turned toward the camera. I waited for the picture where he had kissed my forehead. The slideshow moved from the dance to the cake, then to Claire leaving beneath a row of sparklers. My photograph never appeared. I drank half a cup of coffee and ate 1 triangle of toast. Across the room, someone tapped a spoon against a glass. Alan stood at the large table and announced that he had prepared a few informal remarks, which made Denise groan loudly enough to get a laugh. Alan had a gentle, rumpled face and the posture of a man forever trying to occupy less room than his wife's plans required. He thanked the hotel staff, the out-of-town guests, the wedding party, and finally Nathan. When Claire first brought him home, he said, "I thought, well, here's a fellow who looks like he knows how to change a tire." Nathan called out, "I don't." That became clear later. More laughter. Alan spoke about the way Nathan steadied Claire. Denise wiped her eyes. Claire leaned into my son's shoulder and he kissed the top of her head. They looked happy. That was the inconvenient part. It would have been easier if Claire were cruel every minute, if Nathan had become some cold stranger I could dismiss. But their happiness was real. So was the empty chair. So was the repaired wrap lying across it like an offering nobody had requested. When Alan finished, Nathan stood. "I didn't prepare anything," he said. Claire whispered something to him. I was informed that was obvious. Nathan thanked her parents for welcoming him. He thanked Marcus for keeping track of almost none of his belongings. Then he lifted his cup toward the room. "And thanks to everybody who made this weekend happen, seriously. There were a million moving pieces, and somehow it all worked." His eyes moved across the tables. For one hopeful second, I thought they would stop on me. They did not. Perhaps he couldn't see me beside the service doors. Perhaps he saw me and assumed the general thanks included me. Families survive for years on perhaps. Joni leaned closer. "Are you his mother?" "Yes." She looked at the screen, then at the empty chair, then back at me. Even through her hangover, she completed the arithmetic. "Do you want me to spill a mimosa on somebody?" "No, just know the offer's active." "I appreciate that." She pushed the basket of pastries toward me. "Take a croissant. They're charging somebody $40 for that basket." I took one, mostly to make her feel useful. The brunch lasted another hour. I remained because leaving early would have been interpreted as a statement, and apparently I was already in danger of making one. People stopped by to say goodbye. Several told me the wedding had been beautiful. One of Claire's cousins thanked me for arranging the shuttle, though I had no idea how she knew. Denise came over near the end, carrying her shoes in one hand. "There you are," she said. "I've been looking all over." The ballroom was not that large. "I've been here." She kissed both my cheeks. Denise always kissed the air beside your face as if affection had strict hygiene requirements. "What a weekend," she said. "You must be exhausted." "A little." Claire told me about the florist. "I cannot believe they sent those flowers to Belmont. Can you imagine if you hadn't gone? I'm sure they would have found another solution." "No, they wouldn't. That girl was hanging by a thread yesterday morning." We both looked toward Claire. She was posing for a phone picture with two friends beneath the screen. Denise lowered her voice. She gets an idea in her head about how something should look, and once it's there, God himself needs an appointment to revise it. There was affection in her complaint, and fatigue. "She looked beautiful," I said. "She did, didn't she?" "You all did." Denise touched my forearm. "We didn't get a picture together, you and me." "No, we'll do one at Christmas." The casual promise hit a place already bruised. "Sure," I said. Paige appeared with her headset, which she was still wearing even though the wedding was over. "Evelyn, the Bell staff is ready for the gift transfer." I looked at her. "What gift transfer?" "To your vehicle. I came in a cab." Paige blinked. Her schedules apparently did not account for independent movement, but Nathan said the gifts were going to your house. No one had said that to me. I looked toward the large table. Nathan was gone. Where is he? I believe he and Claire went upstairs to finish packing. Then I believe he can finish deciding where his gifts are going. Paige's lips separated slightly. It was a small sentence. I hadn't raised my voice. Still, saying it gave me the dizzy feeling of stepping off a curb I had not noticed. "Should I call him?" she asked. "No." "What do you want me to tell the Bell staff?" "The truth." She waited. "I don't have a vehicle." Joni, behind me, made a choking sound into her coffee. I gathered my purse and emergency tote. Denise had moved away to say goodbye to relatives. Alan was stacking place cards into neat piles for reasons of his own. I considered finding them both, then decided I had performed enough departures for one weekend. At the ballroom doors, I looked back. Nathan had reappeared near the screen. He was holding Claire's wrap while she showed him something on her phone. The empty chair beside them had been pulled away from the table. I left before he saw me. In the hotel lobby, the same valet who had admired the flowers asked if I needed my car. No car today. Big date over? Apparently. He smiled, then seemed to sense the answer wasn't as light as I had made it. Do you need a cab? Yes, please. The driver loaded my garment bag into the trunk. I kept the emergency tote on my lap. During the ride home, objects inside it shifted at every turn. Sewing kit, stain remover, tissues, the empty velvet box that had held Robert's cufflinks. My house was 40 minutes away in a neighborhood where the trees were older than the sidewalks. Robert and I had bought it when Nathan was 11. At the time, the kitchen had been yellow, the furnace had sounded like a helicopter, and the previous owners had installed carpet in one bathroom. We had considered all 3 problems charming because we could barely afford the mortgage. The bathroom carpet was long gone. The furnace still made threats every winter. I carried my bags inside and locked the door. For several minutes, I stood in the entryway without taking off my shoes. The house looked exactly as I had left it, which felt rude. A bowl on the hall table held Nathan's spare key. 3 unopened wedding deliveries sat beneath it. The guest room was already crowded with things Claire hadn't wanted in their apartment before the wedding. Extra favors, a box of gold charger plates, 2 framed seating charts she had changed her mind about, and canvas bags printed with the wedding date. Nathan had promised to collect everything after the honeymoon. I went upstairs, took off the blue dress, and found the raw place beneath my arm. It was angrier than I expected, a red half-moon rubbed into the skin. In the bathroom mirror, my sprayed hair remained perfectly intact. I began pulling pins out. There were 31. I counted because counting was easier than thinking. My phone rang when I reached 26. Nathan. I let it ring. He called again before I had set the phone down. The second call made me angry in a way the first had not. He knew how to keep asking when he needed an answer. I had simply trained him to believe the answer would always be yes. I turned the phone face down. A message appeared from Claire. Thank you again for fixing Grandma's wrap. It looks perfect. Hope you got home safe. A white heart followed the sentence. I stared at it until the screen went dark. Then another message arrived. Also, I'm sorry if the brunch seating felt confusing. The main table was reserved for the formal photo group because we were doing the preview shots. It wasn't personal at all. I read that one twice, not because it was confusing. I typed, I understood what you said. I deleted it. I typed, there was an empty chair. I deleted that too. Anything I sent would become evidence of tone. Claire was gifted at turning tone into the subject when words became uncomfortable. I set the phone beside the sink and removed the final pins from my hair. Downstairs, I opened a bottle of club soda, then poured it into a wine glass because the day had already taken enough from me. I sat at the kitchen table. At the opposite place, Robert's chair remained slightly loose in one leg. I had been meaning to fix it for 6 years. Nathan called a third time. This time I answered. Where did you go? He asked. No hello. Home. Paige said, you left. That's generally how people get home. We were looking for you. No, Paige was looking for my vehicle. He exhaled. Okay, there was a mix-up with the gifts. There seemed to have been several mix-ups. A pause. Are we talking about brunch? Are we? Mom. The word came out stretched and tired, as if I were adding a problem to a day that had already met its limit. What happened to the gifts? I asked. Marcus and Alan are taking some. We'll figure out the rest. Good. We thought they could go in your garage with the other wedding stuff. You thought? I should have asked. Yes. Another pause. I could hear a zipper moving in the background, then Claire saying something too quietly for me to make out. Nathan lowered his voice. Claire feels terrible. I looked at the wedding deliveries beneath the hall table. About what? You know what? I'd like to hear you say it. About the seating misunderstanding. There it was. A polished little phrase he could carry without cutting himself. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She explained the table was for the picture group. I know what she explained. They were previewing the photos. I was there, Nathan. I know you were there. The speed of his answer left silence behind it. My fingers tightened around the stem of the wine glass. Were you aware there wasn't a single photograph of me in that slideshow? That can't be true. It is. The photographer took one when we danced. I remember. Then there is one. It wasn't shown. There were hundreds of pictures that weren't shown. I'm sure. His breathing changed. I could almost hear him assembling his case, placing each reasonable explanation beside the next. The table had a purpose. The slideshow was only a preview. The photographer chose the images. Claire was tired. The chair was empty for a reason nobody had mentioned until I touched it. Mom, what do you want me to do right now? It was the question he asked whenever my feelings failed to arrive with instructions. I don't want you to do anything right now. Then why are we fighting? We're not. It feels like we are. I'm telling you I need some distance. Distance from what? I looked around my kitchen. His boxes were in my guest room, his deliveries beneath my table, his spare key in my bowl. Even when Nathan was absent, his needs occupied square footage. From being useful, I said. He went quiet. I had surprised him. I had surprised myself. I don't know what that means, he said. I know. Are you saying you won't help us anymore? I'm saying I don't want to be called only when there's something to carry, fix, remember, smooth over, or store. That's not fair. No, it isn't. I meant what you said. So did I. In the background, Claire spoke again. This time I heard my name. Nathan covered the phone, but not before I caught the hard edge in her voice. When he came back, he sounded different. Guarded. We're leaving for the airport in an hour. Then you should finish packing. Can we not ruin the end of the weekend? I stared at the loose chair across from me. I'm not at the end of your weekend, Nathan. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're still having it. I ended the call before I could explain myself into surrender. For the next hour, I kept expecting the phone to ring again. It didn't. I washed the wine glass, dried it, and returned it to the cabinet. Then I moved the unopened wedding deliveries from beneath the hall table into the guest room, where they joined the rest of the things that belonged to Nathan and Claire but lived with me. The gold charger plates were stacked beside a box labeled Ceremony Extras. 2 rolled table runners leaned against the dresser. A framed sign reading, "Welcome to our forever," blocked the closet door. I turned the sign to face the wall. That was as dramatic as I allowed myself to be. At 6:30, I made scrambled eggs. I ate them standing at the kitchen counter because setting the table for one felt like preparing an exhibit. Then I carried Robert's old chair into the basement and found the wood glue. The loose leg was not complicated. It had simply gone unfixed because every time I noticed it, someone else's problem was louder. I had the chair upside down on a workbench when my phone chimed. Nathan had sent a message. Landed. Love you. For a moment, relief moved through me so quickly it was almost shameful. The plane had landed. He loved me. The world had returned to its familiar shape. I typed, "Love you too. Have a wonderful trip." My thumb hovered over send. Then I remembered his voice. Can we not ruin the end of the weekend? I deleted the second sentence and sent only, "Glad you landed safely." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Thanks. That was all. I glued the chair leg and clamped it in place. On Monday morning, the wedding photographs began appearing online. I did not go looking for them. Denise tagged me in an album titled Best Day Ever, which struck me as ambitious considering she had lived 67 years. There were 143 pictures. I looked through all of them. That was my first mistake. My second was pretending I was checking for one specific photograph. I knew by picture 20 that the album had been built around the same idea as the table. Claire and Nathan at the center, Claire's family and friends arranged in widening circles, everyone else fading toward the edges. There was Nathan dancing with Denise, Nathan laughing with Alan, Nathan between Claire's sister and brother, Nathan lifting Claire's grandmother's wrap around her shoulders just after I had repaired it the first time, with a safety pin at the reception. There was no picture of our dance. In one wide shot of the ceremony, I could see part of my blue sleeve beside the white rose on Robert's empty chair. I enlarged it until the image blurred. Denise had written captions beneath nearly every photograph. Under the group portrait from the courtyard, she wrote, "The whole family together at last." I closed the album. 10 minutes later, my cousin Marlene called. Marlene lived in Arizona and considered social media a form of field intelligence. "I saw the pictures," she said. "They're nice. Where are you?" "At home." "In the pictures, Evelyn. I wasn't in the formal ones. How does the groom's mother fail to be in the formal pictures?" "There were schedule problems." "What kind of schedule removes a mother?" I opened the refrigerator, though I wasn't hungry. "Marlene, I don't want to discuss it. That means something happened. Something always happens at a wedding." "What happened?" I looked at the shelves. Half a lemon, mustard, eggs. A casserole dish of baked ziti I had made on Friday because Nathan and Claire were supposed to stop by after the rehearsal dinner if they were hungry. They never came. Nothing I can make better by telling you. Marlene went quiet, which for her was a medical event. Then she said, "I'm sorry." The sympathy was worse than the questions. "Thank you. Do you want me to comment?" "No, I can be subtle." "Your last subtle comment contained the phrase, moral bankruptcy. That was about a restaurant charging for bread." "Please don't comment." She promised. I checked twice that afternoon. By Wednesday, the house felt too quiet, so I took the baked ziti next door to Ruth Hanley. Ruth had lived beside us for 12 years and had been widowed for 3. She was a retired dental hygienist with silver hair, red glasses, and the unnerving ability to ask personal questions while holding gardening shears. She opened the door wearing mud-covered gloves. "Are you feeding me or seeking asylum?" she asked. "Both are available." She took the dish. "Come in." Her kitchen smelled like basil and wet soil. Seed packets covered the table beside a chipped mug that said, "Floss like a boss." Ruth put the ziti in the oven and poured iced tea. "How was the wedding?" "Beautiful. You said that too fast." It was still true. "Those aren't mutually exclusive." I gave her a look. She raised both hands. "Not my circus. That has never stopped you from buying a ticket." "Fair." Ruth did not push. That made me want to tell her, which annoyed me further. Instead, I asked about the trays of seedlings under her window. "Winter vegetables," she said. "I'm expanding the side garden. The side garden is currently a patch of dirt where squirrels bury stolen dinner rolls, and I'm tired of being judged by squirrels." She wanted to replace the rotting border, amend the soil and plant kale, chard, onions, and something called kohlrabi, which sounded like a minor royal family. "I could use another pair of hands," she said. "I'm not much of a gardener. Plants are quieter than relatives." "I'll think about it." "You're already qualified." Gardeners spend most of their time thinking about doing things later. We ate ziti at her table. She complained about a man from her walking group who corrected her pronunciation of quinoa. I told her about the valet asking whether I had a big date. We did not speak about the photographs. When I returned home, Paul's car was in my driveway. He sat on the front steps with a paper bag between his feet. My brother was 68 and built like a retired refrigerator. His white hair grew straight up at the crown no matter what he did to it, so he had stopped doing anything. "You changed the garage code," he said. 3 years ago. That explains some things." "What are you doing here?" "I brought sandwiches." "Why?" "You didn't answer my call. I didn't see it." "I know. If you'd ignored me, you would have sent a text explaining why." Paul stood, picked up the bag, and followed me inside. He had attended the wedding but left before the brunch because he disliked hotels, organized breakfasts, and Alan's brother. He had spent most of the reception at table 9 arguing with a cardiologist about jazz. In the kitchen, he looked at Robert's chair. "You finally fixed that." I was inspired by neglect. He set the sandwiches down. "Ah," he said. "We're being mysterious. We're eating sandwiches. Ham or turkey?" "Turkey." He handed it to me without checking the label. Paul had known my sandwich order since 1974 and still acted surprised when I remembered his. We ate in silence for several minutes. Then he said, "Denise posted the wedding pictures. I know, you're not in them." "I'm aware. I was in too, and I spent the evening hiding behind a ficus. Congratulations." He folded the paper from his sandwich into a smaller square. "What happened?" I told him. "Not all of it." I omitted the raw place beneath my arm, the white heart in Claire's message, and the way Nathan had looked at his coffee instead of me. Some details are too humiliating to say aloud because they sound small until they are placed together. Paul listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "That was cruel. Claire said the table was reserved for the photo group. Then it was organized cruelty. I don't think she planned it to hurt me. You think planning is required?" I carried our empty glasses to the sink. Nathan was overwhelmed. Was he too overwhelmed to recognize his mother? He recognized me, apparently as unpaid staff. "Paul." "What? You want me to tell you it's fine? You have an entire family for that." I turned around. "I didn't ask you to come here. No, you never ask. You just help everybody until you're furious they didn't guess you needed something." The accuracy of it made me feel slapped. "I'm not furious. Then you're doing a bad impression of someone calm." He wiped his mouth with a paper napkin. "What did Nathan say when you told him?" I said I needed distance. Paul stopped folding the sandwich wrapper. "You said that?" "Yes, to Nathan. I only have one." "Well," he leaned back, "maybe there's hope for you. I didn't invite you here to congratulate me. You didn't invite me at all." We stared at each other. Then, against my will, I laughed. Paul smiled, but it faded quickly. "Do you remember my retirement dinner?" he asked. The question changed the temperature in the room. Of course. You weren't there. Nathan's water heater flooded his apartment. He was 37. He needed help moving his things. He had friends. He had money for movers. He had Claire. They'd only been dating a few months, and I'd only worked 42 years. I looked down. Paul's retirement dinner had been held at an Italian restaurant downtown. I had planned to attend. An hour before, Nathan called because water was pouring through the ceiling of his apartment. By the time we moved his clothes and electronics, dinner was over. Paul had told me not to worry about it. "I apologized," I said. "Yes. And then you told me I had plenty of people there." "You did." He nodded slowly. "Exactly. I understood what he meant and disliked him for making me." "You're comparing me to Nathan." "I'm saying he learned where to put you because you kept pointing." The doorbell rang before I had to answer. A delivery man stood outside with another long cardboard box. "Evelyn Mercer?" "Yes." He held out a screen for my signature. The shipping label showed Nathan's name above my address. "What is it?" Paul asked after I dragged the box inside. I read the printed description, "Wedding Arch Storage Case." Paul looked toward the hallway where the guest room door could barely open. "Are you expecting the marriage to be very large?" My phone chimed. A message from Nathan appeared beneath a photograph of turquoise water. "One more package may arrive. Can you put it with the wedding stuff? Thanks, Mom." "You're the best." Paul watched my face. "What are you going to say?" I read the message again. The old response rose automatically. A thumbs up, a heart, no problem. Instead, I typed, "I can keep this one inside until you return. Please arrange to collect all the wedding items next week." I pressed send before I could improve it into surrender. Nathan's answer came less than a minute later. "Sure. Is everything okay?" I set the phone on the table. "No," I said, though he could not hear me. "But it will be." Paul stayed long enough to help me move the arch case into the hallway. It was 6 feet long and shaped like a coffin designed by people with excellent taste. We leaned it against the wall beside the guest room door. "Anything else?" he asked. "I can manage." "That wasn't the question. You've done enough." He looked at me, then at the closed guest room. "Don't start cleaning in there tonight. I wasn't going to. You have the face." "What face?" The one you had before you repainted the kitchen at 2 in the morning after Robert bought the wrong anniversary card. The card said, "To my wonderful husband." He was in a hurry. He signed it. Paul put on his jacket. At the door, he hesitated. "I shouldn't have brought up the retirement dinner like that." "You were right. I can be right and still be a jerk. It's one of my more developed skills." I smiled. He kissed my forehead, which would have felt sentimental if he had not immediately said, "Your hair is crunchy." After he left, I did not clean the guest room. I stood in the doorway and took inventory. The gold charger plates belonged to the rental company, but Claire had bought them used because she disliked the rental company's shade of gold. There were 84 canvas favor bags left over because the guest list had changed. The frame seating charts leaned against a box of glass candle holders. A garment rack held 3 empty bridesmaid dress bags and Nathan's rehearsal suit. The closet contained 2 plastic tubs of things he had stored there before Claire knew him. College sweatshirts, old tax records, a tennis racket with broken strings, and the ceramic mug he made for me when he was 10. It said, "Wold's Best Mom," because he had run out of space for the R. I picked up the mug. He'd been furious when he saw the mistake after it came out of the kiln. I told him wold was an old English word for a beautiful open hillside. I had no idea whether that was true at the time. Years later, I looked it up and discovered I had accidentally been close. The mug had sat on my desk at work until I retired. Now it was wrapped in newspaper among things Nathan no longer wanted, but did not want gone. I placed it on the dresser. Then I went to bed. The next morning, Claire posted a photograph of herself on a beach, holding a coconut with both hands. Nathan was visible behind her, walking toward the water. The caption read, "Finally, just us." I tried not to take that personally. At noon, Nathan answered my message about the wedding things. "No problem. We'll get everything after we're back." I wrote, "Thank you." He sent a heart. Our entire relationship had been reduced to punctuation and small red symbols. Ruth knocked on my back door that afternoon, wearing overalls and carrying 2 shovels. "I thought you were expanding the garden," I said. "I am. In my yard? You said you'd think about helping." "I'm still thinking. Think with this." She handed me a shovel. Ruth's side garden ran along the fence between our houses. The soil was hard, full of old roots and pale stones. We spent 2 hours removing a rotted wooden border. Ruth talked almost continuously, which allowed me not to. She had opinions about soil, city council parking rules, orthopedic shoes, and a neighbor 3 streets over who painted her front door purple without the architecture to support it. "You know what your problem is?" she asked, bracing one boot against the shovel. "I suspect you're going to narrow it down. You dig like you're apologizing to the dirt. I didn't know the dirt was upset. Put your weight into it." I did. The blade struck something hard. "That's better," Ruth said. "It's a rock. It's progress." When we finished, my back hurt. My hands were blistered and the border was gone. The bed looked worse than when we started, but it was an honest kind of worse. No one could mistake it for finished. Ruth gave me a pair of gardening gloves to keep. "Same time Thursday," she said. "I didn't agree to Thursday. You took the gloves. That's how you trap people?" "I used to work in dentistry. I know how to secure a follow-up." The days settled into an unfamiliar shape. Without wedding errands, there was nowhere I had to be. That should have felt like freedom. Instead, I kept forgetting what I was not doing. On Sunday morning, I woke at 6:30 and reached for the grocery list I normally made for dinner with Nathan and Claire. Pot roast, carrots, potatoes, the soft rolls Claire liked but always pretended not to eat. They were still away, so dinner had not been expected. My body expected it anyway. I made toast and carried my coffee to the porch. The street was quiet. Robert used to say Sunday mornings were proof the world could whisper if people stopped interrupting it. I had never been good at the quiet part. The following Saturday, Nathan texted that they had landed. "Home, exhausted. Amazing trip. Can't wait to see you." I wrote, "Welcome home." A minute later, another message came. "Sunday dinner tomorrow?" I looked through the kitchen window toward Ruth's garden. We had finished the border and begun turning compost into the soil. She had invited Paul and me to a neighborhood concert in the park Sunday evening. I had said yes. I typed, "I have plans tomorrow. Let's choose another day." Nathan called before I set down the phone. "You have plans?" "Hello to you too. Sorry." "Hi? What plans?" "A concert in the park with Ruth and Paul." There was a pause, as if I had said I was taking up bullfighting. "You don't like outdoor concerts. I don't like outdoor jazz. This is folk music. You don't like folk music. I may hate it. That's part of the suspense." He laughed, and the sound loosened something in me. "We brought you something," he said. "You didn't have to." "I know." I waited for him to suggest Monday or Tuesday. Instead, he said, Claire was really looking forward to a normal dinner. The word normal sat between us. "I'm free Wednesday. We both work Wednesday, then next Sunday. That's 2 weeks after the wedding." "Yes." Time continues. He sighed. "Are you still upset?" "I'm still thinking." "About what?" I looked at the blister healing at the base of my thumb. Why it's so surprising that I have plans. It's not surprising. You called immediately, because you always do Sunday dinner. I usually do. So this is about brunch. Not everything is about brunch, Nathan. Then why can't we have dinner? Because I have plans. Claire said something in the background. Nathan covered the phone, but his hand muffled only the words, not the irritation. When he returned, he said, "What about the wedding stuff? What about it? We can pick up some of it tomorrow afternoon. All of it. We don't have room for all of it right now. Neither do I. It's been there for months. Yes. You said it was fine. It was fine before it stopped being fine." He was silent for a few seconds. "Okay," he said. "We'll figure something out. That's all I'm asking." But his voice had changed. The warmth from the beginning of the call was gone. At 3 the next afternoon, Nathan pulled into my driveway alone. I was wearing jeans and a green shirt Paul claimed made me look like a park ranger. The folding chairs for the concert were already in my trunk. Nathan came through the front door without knocking. He still had a key to my house, though he used it mostly when I was home. "Hey," he said. "Hey." He hugged me. I hugged him back. He smelled like the cedar soap Claire bought for their bathroom and the stale air of his car. For 1 second, with his cheek against my hair, the last 2 weeks collapsed. Then he released me and looked down the hallway. Wow! The arch case and wedding deliveries now stood outside the guest room. I had not packed everything, but I had moved enough to make the point visible. "You've been busy," he said. "I'm trying to clear the room." "For what?" "A room." He rubbed the back of his neck. Claire stayed home to unpack. Of course. She also thought maybe it would be better if I came alone. Better for whom? "Mom." I picked up one of the smaller boxes. "This is table linens. I don't want you lifting that. I drove your flowers across the county in formal wear. I can lift napkins." He took the box from me and carried it outside. His car was a compact sedan. The trunk already contained 2 suitcases, a beach bag, and what looked like half the contents of an airport gift shop. You didn't unload before coming. We were tired. So you came for the things that have been here 6 months with a full trunk. He shut his eyes briefly. "I said we could get some. I said all. We can't take all. Then come back with room." He set the linen box in the back seat. I expected an argument. Instead, he stood beside the car and studied me. "What is happening?" he asked. "You tell me. I went away for a week, and I came back to my mother acting like I'm being evicted from her life. You're being asked to remove wedding decorations from my guest room. It's not the boxes." "No." "Then say what it is." I crossed my arms. He waited. I thought of the question I had asked him on the phone, whether he knew there had not been a single image of me in the slideshow. He had never answered. "Did you look at the photographs?" I asked. His jaw tightened. "Yes." "All of them?" "Most." "Did you find me?" "There's a ceremony picture. My sleeve. You're sitting there. You can see 3 inches of blue fabric." He looked toward the street. "I emailed the photographer," he said. "I had not expected that." What did she say? She has more pictures. She's still editing. Did she have the one of us dancing? Yes. Did you see it? Yes. Why wasn't it in the preview? She said Claire selected the family images she wanted for brunch. The answer landed quietly. Nathan pushed both hands into his pockets. Claire didn't select every individual photograph, he added. She gave categories. What category was I? That's not fair. It's a question. She was overwhelmed. She wanted her immediate family, the wedding party, the college group. Am I not your immediate family? His face changed. I saw the instant he understood there was no safe answer. Saying yes condemned what had happened. Saying no would be honest in a way neither of us could survive. "You're my mother?" he said finally. It was not an answer. I looked at the open car door, the linen box wedged between luggage, the coconuts painted on a souvenir bag. Nathan, take what you can today. Arrange for the rest by Friday. Friday? Yes, that's impossible. No, it's inconvenient. He stared at me as if I had spoken in a language he had never heard from my mouth. Claire thinks you're trying to punish her. This isn't only about Claire. What does that mean? It means she was able to say what she said because she expected you to let her. Color rose along his neck. You're blaming me for something Claire said? I'm telling you which part hurt. He glanced at his watch. The gesture was small. It ended the conversation anyway. I'll come back for the rest, he said. When? I don't know, Mom. I just got home. He closed the back door of the car harder than necessary, then softened immediately, looking guilty. I wanted to rescue him from that too. Instead, I stepped back. Let me know. He drove away with one box of table linens. The arch case remained in my hallway, long and elegant, preserving the shape of a celebration that had no place to go. The concert began at 6, but Ruth insisted we arrive at 5 to claim good ground. Good ground turned out to be a patch of grass beside a trash can, far enough from the portable toilets to preserve dignity, but close enough that people kept asking if we knew where they were. Paul unfolded his chair and looked toward the small stage. This is folk music? That's what Ruth said. Ruth planted her folding chair between us. It's Americana. What's the difference? He asked. Better hats. The first singer wore a denim jacket in weather too warm for one and introduced a song about his grandfather's tractor. Paul lasted through 2 verses before leaning toward me. Was the tractor ill? Emotionally? A woman in front of us turned around. Ruth pointed at Paul. He has a condition. I laughed, but my attention kept drifting toward the parking lot. Each time a dark sedan entered, some part of me thought Nathan had changed his mind. He knew where we were. He could have come. I imagined him walking across the grass with Claire, carrying the small souvenir he had mentioned on the phone, both of them ready to act as if the wedding had been a misunderstanding we could outwait. He did not come. Near sunset, a trio began playing an old song Robert used to hum while sanding cabinet doors in the garage. Not one of his favorites, exactly. Robert distrusted favorites because he said they created unnecessary rankings. But he had hummed it often enough that the melody belonged to him in my mind. Paul recognized it too. He did not look at me. He reached into his cooler and handed me a beer. I'm driving, I said. It's non-alcoholic. Why did you bring non-alcoholic beer to a concert? I'm 68. My body has begun issuing regulations. I took it. We sat beneath strings of temporary lights while the song moved over the field. No one needed me. No one knew where I kept the extra batteries or which relative could not sit beside another. The freedom of it was almost unbearable. Ruth bumped her shoulder against mine. Good ground, she said. I nodded. The next day, Claire called at 11:30 in the morning. I was at the dining table sorting mail. Her name appeared on the screen, and I considered letting it go to voicemail. Then I thought about all the times I had wished she would speak to me directly instead of sending Nathan between us. Hello, Claire. Hi, Evelyn. Is this a bad time? No. She took a breath. Nathan said you two had a difficult conversation yesterday. He came for the wedding things. I know. I waited. Claire was usually skilled with silence. She could use it to make another person fill the room. This time, neither of us did. Finally, she said, I don't want this to become some huge family fracture. Neither do I. Good. Her relief came too quickly, as though agreement about the preferred ending meant we had reached it. I feel like there's been a series of misunderstandings, she continued, and maybe some things got magnified because everyone was exhausted. Which things? The table, the pictures, the gifts. The gifts are in my hallway. They aren't magnified. I mean, emotionally. I placed the mail into a stack. Did you know I wasn't in the brunch slideshow? Another silence. I knew there weren't formal portraits of you, she said. That isn't what I asked. I chose a limited number of preview groups. The photographer needed categories, and we were trying to keep it visually cohesive. I pictured Paige telling me the head table required exact visual balance. What was visually uncohesive about me dancing with my son? That's not what I meant. You had that picture. The photographer sent hundreds of proofs at 3 a.m. I wasn't individually rejecting pictures of you. You didn't have to reject them. You never asked for them. Her voice tightened. Evelyn, you kept leaving. I actually pulled the phone away and looked at it. You asked me to check the shuttle. Once. I asked you once. You sent me to the florist. Paige sent me to find place cards. Your brother asked about the officiant's envelope. I was fixing your wrap while other people were still dancing. I didn't send you for the place cards or the envelope. No. You only benefited from it. That's unfair. The word had become popular in our family. Claire lowered her voice. You always seemed more comfortable helping. Every time I tried to include you, you found something to do. I opened my mouth and closed it, because there was truth in that. Not the whole truth, but enough to make denying it dishonest. At the rehearsal dinner, Claire had asked me to join a group at the bar after dessert. I had declined because I wanted to double-check the welcome bags. Months earlier, she invited me to a dress fitting, and I left early to meet a repairman at Nathan's apartment. I had not been asked to meet him. Nathan mentioned he could not get away from work, and I volunteered before anyone else had to think. I should have spoken up, I said. Claire seemed startled. Yes, she said, exactly. That does not make what you said at brunch acceptable. Her relief vanished. I already told you it wasn't personal. You put your hand on a chair beside my son and told me it was for people in the photos. What part was not personal? I was explaining the seating. You were enforcing it. I didn't want to rearrange the whole table. One chair. That seat was for my grandmother's wrap and my bag. I almost laughed. The repaired wrap had outranked me. Then you could have said that. I did say something. Yes. I remember it clearly. Her breathing became audible. I apologized for the confusion. No, you explained why you believe it shouldn't hurt. What do you want from me? Evelyn. There it was again. The family request for instructions. I want time. We've been back less than 2 days and Nathan is miserable. I'm sorry he's miserable. He thinks you're pulling away from him because of me. I'm pulling away from a role I've been playing. You happen to be the first person who named it accurately. What role? The person outside the picture who makes the picture possible. Claire went quiet. For a second, I thought I had reached her. Then she said, That is a very dramatic way to describe helping with a wedding, and huge family fracture is a very dramatic way to describe me not cooking dinner. She hung up a few sentences later. Politely. Claire said she had a meeting and hoped we could talk again when everyone was calmer. I sat at the table with the unopened mail in front of me. The conversation had not made me feel stronger. It made me feel contaminated by doubt. Claire was right that I had left rooms before anyone could exclude me. I had built a life around anticipating needs, then quietly resented people for believing I enjoyed it. But she had still covered the chair with her hand. Both things could be true. I disliked stories that required only one. Friday arrived without Nathan. At 4:20, he texted, "Work exploded. Can we do pickup next weekend?" I looked down the hallway. The arch case blocked part of the radiator. 3 boxes narrowed the path to the guest room. I had moved the framed seating charts behind the case, so I no longer had to see the names. I wrote, "I need a definite time." He answered, "Sunday afternoon?" I had agreed to help Ruth spread compost Sunday morning. The afternoon was free. 2 works. A thumbs up appeared. At 2:20 on Sunday, there was no sign of him. At 2:45, I called. He answered from a loud room. "Mom, I'm sorry, we're at Claire's parents'. You said 2, I know, lunch ran long. Are you coming?" "Not today." I closed my eyes. "You could have told me. I just did. After I waited, I lost track of time." In the background, I heard Denise laughing and dishes being stacked. Their family lunch sounded warm and crowded. "What about next Saturday?" he asked. "I have plans." "What plans?" I almost said none of your business. I wasn't ready for that woman yet. "Ruth and I are buying lumber for the garden border." "You're gardening now?" "Apparently." "Sunday, then. I'll check." He exhaled. "Why are you making this so hard?" I leaned against the wall beside the arch case. "I was here at 2. "I know," and I said, "I'm sorry." "No, you said you lost track of time. What's the difference?" "One is about what happened to you. The other is about what you did to me." He lowered his voice. "Can we not do word games?" "Goodbye, Nathan." "Mom," I ended the call. That evening was the first Sunday I had spent alone while Nathan and Claire were home. I made soup from a can. Halfway through eating it, I realized the television was on in the living room, though I wasn't watching. I had turned it on for the sound of other people. At 7, a photograph appeared in the family group chat. Denise had taken it at lunch. Claire and Nathan sat on one side of her long dining table. Alan stood behind them with his hands on their shoulders. Empty wine glasses, serving dishes, and a half-eaten cake crowded the table. The caption said, "Finally got our newlyweds home." Marlene reacted with a heart. 2 cousins did the same. I put the phone face down. A few minutes later, it buzzed again. Claire had sent me a private message. "We're starting thank you cards. Can you send notes about Nathan's relatives? Who gave what? Relationships? Anything personal we should mention? You know everyone so much better." I read it once, then walked to the desk in the guest room. The address list lay inside a blue folder beneath the ceramic mug. I had spent weeks correcting names and adding details in the margins. Walter hated being called Uncle Walt. Marlene's second husband was named Richard, not Robert. The widowed cousin preferred her first name to Mrs. Anything. I knew who had been ill, who had traveled far, who had quietly sent more than they could afford. I carried the folder to the kitchen and photographed only the pages with names and addresses, not my handwritten notes. Then I replied, "Here's the guest list. For personal messages, I think you and Nathan should call anyone you don't know well enough to thank yourselves." 3 dots appeared almost immediately. They remained for a long time, then disappeared. The next morning, Claire answered with 4 words. "Never mind, we'll manage." The period did more work than the sentence. I put the phone down and buttered a piece of toast. Before I took a bite, Nathan called. "Why won't you help with the thank you cards?" "Good morning." "Good morning. Why won't you help?" "I sent the address list. You left out all the notes. They're your wedding thank you cards. You know what people gave. So do you. You opened the gifts. We made a spreadsheet. Then you're ahead of most civilizations." He did not laugh. "Claire feels like you're withholding things to make a point. I am making a point. Gratitude is personal. You helped with my graduation announcements. You were 22. So if I keep doing everything I did when you were 22, one of us has failed." I heard him move, then a door close. He had probably stepped into the hallway at work. "Could you at least tell us which relatives need special messages? They all need personal messages. Mom, call them. There are 47 people on your side. My side? You know what I mean." "Yes, I do." He sighed. "We sent cards to Claire's family already. How did you know what to write?" "She knows them. You know mine. Not the way you do." That's exactly the problem, Nathan. The words came out harder than I intended. He went quiet. I softened my voice, but not the answer. Call Walter. Ask him how he knows your father's family. He will talk for 40 minutes, 37 of which will be about municipal waste, but eventually you'll hear a story you've never heard. Call Marlene and ask about Richard. Don't call him Robert. She already made that mistake once and none of us survived it. I don't have time to call 47 people. You had time to invite them. That was different. Yes, I said. It was easier. He ended the conversation by saying he had a meeting. He did not say, love you. I did not say it either. The omission followed me through the morning like a loose thread. Ruth and I spent Saturday at a lumberyard arguing over cedar. She believed wood possessed moral qualities. Pine was cheap in spirit. Pressure-treated lumber was an environmental confession. Cedar, according to Ruth, aged with dignity. I need boards, I told her, not a second husband. The standards are similar. Straight, reliable, resistant to rot. A man wearing an orange apron passed us and looked determined not to participate. We loaded 6 boards onto a cart. Ruth watched me check my phone for the 3rd time. Are you waiting for medical results? No. Then put that away before you walk into a display shed. I slipped the phone into my purse. She pushed the cart toward the register. Did your son collect his wedding museum? He's coming tomorrow. With the wife? Her name is Claire. I know her name. You always say the wife when you disapprove of someone. I say it when I'm conserving syllables. They're bringing a larger car. Excellent. The forever sign can begin forever somewhere else. I had told Ruth more than I intended while we dug the garden bed. Unlike Paul, she did not tell me what the title incident meant. She asked practical questions. Did Claire know there were no pictures of me? Did Nathan? Had either one apologized? What did I want now? I had answers for the first 3. The 4th annoyed me. What are you going to do with the guest room? She asked as we tied the boards to the roof of her station wagon. Put the bed back where it belongs. And then, have guests. You don't like guests. I like some guests. You make them strip the bed before they leave. That is courteous. That is labor with a mint on the pillow. I tightened the rope around the cedar. Maybe I'll make it a reading room. You already have a living room. I may read in multiple locations. Ruth looked at me over the roof of the car. A boundary leaves a space, she said. If you don't decide what goes there, guilt will move back in. I pulled the knot tighter. Did you read that on a tea bag? No, my tea bags are funny. At 2 o'clock Sunday, Nathan pulled into my driveway in a borrowed SUV. Claire sat beside him. They remained in the car for several seconds after the engine stopped. I watched from the dining room window, then moved away so they would not catch me watching. Nathan came in carrying a colorful paper bag. We brought your present, he said. Claire followed him. She wore dark jeans, a cream sweater, and the careful expression of a person entering a room where something had recently broken. Hi, Evelyn. Hello. Nathan handed me the bag. Inside was a ceramic serving bowl painted in shades of blue and green. Small white fish circled the inside. It was irregular and beautiful. We found it at this little shop near the water, he said. The woman who made it had pictures of the whole process. Claire picked the color, he added quickly. Claire looked at him. You picked the fish. I like the fish. I know. They sounded married. Not newly married. Married in the ordinary way, with shared purchases and unnecessary corrections. I ran my thumb over the glazed rim. It's lovely, I said. Thank you. Claire's shoulders lowered slightly. I thought it would look nice on your dining table. It will. We stood there, all 3 of us looking at the bowl. For a moment, it seemed possible that the gift could become a bridge. Then Nathan glanced down the hallway. Should we start? The borrowed SUV belonged to Marcus. It was larger than Nathan's car, but not large enough for everything. Nathan folded the back seats while Claire and I carried smaller boxes to the front porch. She picked up the framed forever sign and read it. I hated this by the end, she said. I turned it around. I noticed. Our eyes met. Neither of us smiled. Nathan wedged the charger plates behind the passenger seat. Why do you own 84 gold plates? He asked. Because the rental ones were brass pretending to be gold, Claire said. Was anyone going to arrest us? You said they looked green. They did look green. Claire handed him a box of candle holders. That goes on the floor. There is no floor. Then make one. As they argued about space, I carried out the canvas bags. There were too many to fit, so Nathan opened the box and began stuffing loose bags around other items. What are we supposed to do with these? He asked. Use them for groceries, I said. They have our wedding date on them. Then the broccoli will remember. Claire made a sound that might have been a laugh. By 4, the SUV was packed to its windows. The arch case still stood in my hallway, along with 2 boxes of ceremony extras and Nathan's old plastic tubs. He wiped his forehead with his sleeve. We'll get the rest next weekend. I've heard that. We physically can't fit it. I can see that. Then why are you saying it like I've done something wrong? I'm saying I need a date. Next Sunday. Time? He looked at Claire. She said, we have brunch with my parents. The word brunch moved through the room and sat down. Nathan heard it too. After, he said, 4. Fine. Claire went to the kitchen for water. Nathan followed me into the guest room. The bed was visible again. I had removed the dress bags from the garment rack and placed the ceramic mug on the dresser. Nathan saw it. You still have that? You stored it here. He picked it up. Wold's Best Mom, he read. You were an experimental speller. You told me it meant a hill, an open upland area. You made that up. I was close. He smiled, then looked at me over the mug. We got through 20 thank you calls. I waited. Walter told me Dad once got thrown out of a bowling alley. That sounds like Walter's version. He said Dad put a frozen turkey down the ball return. It was a Cornish hen. Nathan stared at me. There was context, I said. What context could help? The snack bar had accused Paul of stealing a fork. That makes it worse. Your father believed in proportional response. Nathan laughed. It came easily, and I laughed with him. Then Claire returned with her water. What's funny? Dad and a frozen chicken, Nathan said. Cornish hen. Apparently that matters. Claire looked between us. She smiled. But I saw the moment she became the person outside the story. I knew that feeling. Knowing it did not tell me how to repair it. Nathan set down the mug. We should talk before we go. The air changed. Claire put her glass on the dresser. We don't have to do this now. Yes, we do. I sat on the edge of the bed. They remained standing side by side. Nathan spoke first. I don't want us going weeks without dinner or having every favor turn into some test. I don't either. Then what fixes this? I don't know yet. That's not an answer. It's the one I have. Claire crossed her arms. How long are we supposed to be punished? You aren't being punished. You stopped Sunday dinner. You gave us a deadline to clear things out. You refused to help with the cards. I made other plans. I asked you to remove your belongings. And I said you should thank your own guests. When you list it that way, it sounds very reasonable. It is reasonable. It feels hostile. That may be because you were comfortable with the alternative. Nathan held up a hand. Can we not attack each other? I am not attacking her. You just said, I heard what I said. Claire's face had gone pale. I thought you liked helping, she said. I did. Then how were we supposed to know you were secretly keeping score? I wasn't keeping score. It feels like you were waiting for one mistake so you could present an entire case. The accusation hurt because it resembled something I feared about myself. I looked down at my hands. I should have said no more often, I told them. I should have said when I was tired. I should have told Nathan I wanted that photograph instead of waiting for him to notice. Nathan sat beside me. Okay, he said quietly, but you did notice. His knee stopped moving. You saw me waiting in the courtyard. Yes. You promised later. I meant it. And later, when it didn't happen, you didn't go looking for me. There were 200 people there. I was one of them. Claire turned toward the window. Nathan rubbed both hands over his face. What do you want me to say? The truth. I screwed up. The words came out flat, exhausted. I waited. He looked at me. I should have made sure we got a picture. I should have checked the seating. I should have said something at brunch. Claire turned back. Nathan glanced at her, then continued. I didn't because I knew Mom would let it go, and I knew you wouldn't. No one moved. Claire's voice was very quiet. What does that mean? It means I was trying to keep the day calm. By blaming me? I'm not blaming you. You just said your mother is easier than I am. That isn't what I said. It is exactly what you said. They looked at each other, and suddenly I was no longer the center of the argument. I was the place where an older argument had surfaced. I stood. You should go. Nathan looked up. Mom, not forever. Just now. Claire picked up her glass. Her hand was shaking slightly. They left without another word. The blue bowl remained on my dining table. In the hallway, the arch case and 2 boxes waited for next Sunday at 4. For the first time, I understood they were not only storing objects in my house, they had been storing their disagreements in me. They did not call that evening. I told myself that was sensible. They needed to talk without me in the room, and I needed to stop treating every silence as an emergency I had been assigned to fix. At 10, I carried the blue bowl into the kitchen and washed it. It was already clean, but washing it gave my hands something to do. I dried it carefully and placed it in the center of the dining table. Under the chandelier, the white fish seemed to swim in circles, each following the tail of the next. Sunday came. At 4, I opened the front curtains without admitting why. At 4:15, I put water on for tea. At 4:38, my phone chimed. Nathan had written, "We're not going to make it today. Sorry." I looked down the hall at the arch case. I typed, "When will you collect the remaining things?" The dots appeared. Then, "I don't know. Things are tense here. Can the boxes not be the biggest issue right now?" I read it several times, amazed by the talent required to make stationary cardboard responsible for marital conflict. "They can remain through the end of the month," I wrote. "Please choose a time before then." His reply came quickly. Fine. I made tea and drank it on the porch, where the afternoon was warm enough to attract mosquitoes with poor boundaries. On Monday, Denise called. She began by asking how I was, which meant she wanted something. "I'm well," I said. "I'm glad. I've been worried. About me? About everyone." Denise was in her car. I could hear the turn signal clicking. "I don't want to interfere," she said. I waited. But Claire called me last night. There it was. "I'm sorry she's upset." "She is more than upset, Evelyn. She feels rejected." "By whom?" "By you." I moved the phone to my other ear. "I have not rejected Claire. She says you barely spoke to her yesterday. She was in my house for 2 hours. You know what I mean." "No, I don't." The turn signal stopped. A car horn sounded faintly. Denise sighed. "She feels like you've never truly approved of her." "That isn't true. She says you're warm until she makes a decision you wouldn't make, and then you go quiet." I thought of the brass-colored charger plates and the head table's visual balance. I do go quiet. That can be very intimidating. I'm 64 years old and 5 feet 4 inches. Silence doesn't have a height. It was a good line. I disliked her for having it. "What would you like me to do, Denise?" "I think you should reassure them. They've been married 2 weeks, and they're already arguing about whose side of the family is the problem. I didn't ask Nathan to say what he said." "No, but you pressed him until he said it." My hand tightened around the phone. "Did Claire tell you what she said at brunch?" She explained. "Did she repeat the sentence?" A pause. Something about the photography table. She told me, "This table is for people in the photos." The turn signal resumed. "Well," Denise said, "that was poorly phrased. It was accurately phrased. I'm not defending it. You're translating it. I'm trying to keep one painful moment from defining an entire relationship." I looked through the dining room doorway at the bowl Claire had chosen for me. So am I. Then be the mother. The words were gentle. That made them worse. What does that mean? You're older. You have perspective. You know how much pressure she was under. I drove 40 miles for her flowers. I had perspective. I know you helped. Everyone knows. Do they? Denise became quiet. Then she said, Claire has always wanted things to feel like a real family. Sometimes she holds too tightly. I understand that. Then perhaps you can give a little. I have given a great deal. That's not what I meant. I know. We had reached the place where two polite women could become enemies through careful grammar. I took a breath. I'm not going to discuss Nathan and Claire's marriage with you. This isn't about their marriage. You told me they were fighting. I thought you should understand the effect this is having. Their disagreement belongs to them, and your disagreement belongs to all of you. Yes, all of us, not you. The click of her turn signal stopped again. I see, she said. I'm not trying to be rude. You're succeeding by accident. That was another good line. I care about Claire, I said. I'm not asking Nathan to leave her. Choose me, defend me every morning over breakfast, or punish anyone. I asked for space and for them to remove their belongings from my house. You canceled Sunday dinners. I made plans one Sunday. Claire says you aren't scheduling another. Claire has not asked me. Would you say yes? I looked out the window toward Ruth's garden. Small green leaves had begun pushing through the dark soil. Not yet. Denise exhaled as if I had confirmed something. I hope this is worth it. What do you think I'm trying to win? I don't know, Evelyn. Neither do I. After the call, I stood in the dining room until the phone rang again. This time it was Uncle Walter. I got a call from your boy, he said without greeting me. Did you? 42 minutes. I'm sorry. He asked about the wedding gift. What did you give them? Emergency roadside equipment. That's romantic. It's practical. Marriage is mostly being stranded near someone. I sat down. Walter told me Nathan had asked how he knew Robert. The question had led to the bowling alley story and then to 3 other stories, 2 of which I suspected were invented. He sounded good, Walter said. Tired. They just got back from their trip. He asked questions. That's usually how conversations work, not with young people. Nathan is 40. Young. I smiled despite myself. Before hanging up, Walter said, Your name came up. My chest tightened. What did he say? That you told him to call, that's all? What else should there be? Nothing. Walter grunted. You coming to the Veterans Hall dinner next month? I'm not a veteran. Neither is half the committee. We need people who understand potato salad. I'll consider it. Don't consider too long. They put raisins in it last year. He hung up. That Thursday, Paul joined us in Ruth's garden. He claimed he was there to operate power tools, though we owned no power tools for the task. Ruth handed him a rake. This is manual, he said. Your arms will remember. We spread compost, laid the cedar border, and argued about whether the corners were square. Paul insisted they were. Ruth produced a carpenter's square from her apron like a prosecutor introducing evidence. They were not. Geometry is elitist, Paul said. At noon, Ruth went inside to make sandwiches. Paul and I sat on the grass beside the unfinished bed. I rubbed dirt from my gloves. I owe you an apology. He looked alarmed. For the border? I'm willing to blame Ruth for your retirement dinner. Paul picked up a cedar shaving and split it with his thumbnail. We covered that. No. You told me you were hurt, and I explained why I had been right to hurt you. He glanced at me. I should have come, I said. Nathan had other help. I chose the emergency that made me feel necessary. You were worried about him. I was. And I treated your important day like it would remain important whenever I arrived. Paul rolled the cedar shaving between his fingers. I knew you were taking care of him, he said. You told me not to worry. I learned from the master. I laughed once, without humor. I'm sorry. He nodded. Thank you. I waited for him to say it was fine. He did not. The absence of forgiveness on command felt strangely respectful. Then he nudged my boot with his. Don't turn this into a new project where you apologize to everyone you've disappointed since 1983. Why 1983? That blouse you wore to my wedding. You're divorced. The blouse may have contributed. Ruth returned with sandwiches and demanded to know why we were sitting during paid hours. You're not paying us, Paul said. Then your performance is finally appropriate. The garden became the place where I went when my hands reached for Nathan's life. When the plumber he used called me because he could not reach him, I gave the man Nathan's number instead of arranging the appointment. When a package for Claire arrived at my house, I texted her a photograph and left it unopened by the arch case. When Marlene asked whether the newlyweds had finished their thank you notes, I said she should ask them. Each decision was small. Each made me feel mean for several minutes. Nathan and I exchanged messages but did not speak. He sent a photograph of the roadside kit Walter had given them, already placed in the trunk. I reacted with a thumbs up. He asked for the name of the restaurant where Robert used to order veal parmesan. I told him. He did not explain why. The end of the month approached. The arch case remained. On the final Friday, I sent one message. Your things are still here. Please arrange pickup. Nathan did not answer until evening. I'm sorry. We've had a rough few weeks. I'll deal with it. I typed 3 different replies and deleted them all. At 9, someone knocked on my front door. Nathan stood on the porch in shirt sleeves, though the night had turned cold. He looked tired in a way sleep would not fix. Where's the SUV? I asked. I didn't come for the boxes. I held the door but did not step aside yet. What did you come for? He looked past me into the house. I don't know, he said. It was the first answer he had given me in weeks that sounded completely true. I stepped aside. Nathan entered and stood in the hallway as if he had forgotten what came after arriving. His eyes moved over the arch case, the boxes, and the package addressed to Claire. You want coffee? I asked. No. Tea? No. Water? He gave me a tired look. Do we have to do the thing where you offer every liquid in the house? It usually buys me time to understand why someone is here. Water, then. I brought him a glass. He carried it to the dining room and sat in Robert's repaired chair. It doesn't wobble, he said. I fixed it. When? After the wedding. He rocked it once to test my answer. The chair held. The blue bowl sat between us. Nathan touched one of the painted fish. You're using it. It's a bowl, not an organ donation. I didn't know if you liked it. I told you I did. You tell people a lot of things are fine. That is not the same sentence. It's the same system. I sat across from him. He looked older than he had at the wedding. Not physically, exactly. He had always carried stress in the line between his eyebrows, but now there was no event schedule to blame. Where's Claire? I asked. At home. Does she know you're here? Yes. That answer came too quickly. Nathan. She knows I left. She can probably guess. So she doesn't know. We had an argument. I gathered that. It wasn't about the boxes. It rarely is. He drank half the water. She thinks you hate her. I don't. She thinks you've always hated her. I haven't. She says she could feel you judging her from the beginning. Claire feels judged when a waiter recommends a different wine. See? That. What? You say something funny, but underneath it, you're confirming she's right. I leaned back. He had not come for comfort. He had come with evidence. Do you believe I hate her? No. Do you believe I've always judged her? You judge everyone. So do you. I'm not saying I don't. There was enough of Robert in that answer to make me smile. Nathan saw it. What? Your father used to admit to things as if that made them virtues. He was efficient. He was impossible. You loved him. I did. And you complained about him constantly. I had material. Nathan turned the glass between his hands. Were you happy with Dad? The question was so far from where I expected us to go that I took time answering. Yes. All the time? Of course not. How much? That isn't measurable. You knew what I meant. I looked toward the kitchen. Robert had been gone 8 years, and there were still moments when talking honestly about our marriage felt like speaking behind his back. We were happy in seasons, I said, some longer than others. Did he make you feel invisible? I did not ask where the question came from. Sometimes. Nathan looked down. Your father could walk past a full trash bag for 3 days and then take it outside the moment someone arrived, as if he had been waiting for an audience. He believed kitchen counters cleared themselves overnight. He once invited 12 people for dinner and told me at 4 that afternoon. That's not what I asked. No, but invisibility is usually made of ordinary things. He raised his eyes. Did you tell him? Not enough. Why? Because I was proud of how much I could carry. That sounds familiar. It should. The house made a small settling noise. The furnace clicked on beneath us. I'm not asking you to become your father, I said. No one thinks you are. I do. He looked toward the hallway. I keep thinking about the brunch. So do I. I should have moved the chair. Yes, I know that. You knew it then. His face tightened. I thought if I contradicted Claire in front of everyone, she would feel humiliated. And if you asked me to move, I would cooperate. You always do. Did. He nodded once. The admission did not feel like victory. It felt like standing in a room after someone had turned on an unflattering light. Nathan pressed his palms against his eyes. Claire says, I never defend her to you. You defend her constantly. She says explaining her isn't defending her. She may be right. He dropped his hands. You agree with her? I often understand Claire better than either of you thinks I do. Then why can't you just talk to her? I did. She came away feeling like you'd put her on trial. She called to explain why my hurt was a misunderstanding. She didn't know what else to say. An apology would have fit. She did apologize. She apologized for confusion. Nathan leaned back and looked at the ceiling. I cannot keep debating the wording of every sentence. Then don't. What am I supposed to do? I felt the old answer rise. Come here. I'll help. Tell me exactly what happened. I'll explain your wife to you and you to your wife until neither of you has to risk saying the wrong thing directly. I let the answer pass. Go home and talk to Claire. I tried. Try differently. That's helpful. It isn't my marriage. His chair scraped the floor as he stood. Right. I forgot. Nothing is your responsibility anymore. The cruelty was mild by most standards. Nathan knew exactly where to place it. I did not answer. He walked to the kitchen, put his empty glass in the sink, and stood with both hands against the counter. I didn't mean that, he said. Yes, you did. I'm angry. So am I. You don't seem angry. What would convince you? A lamp? He almost smiled. Then he turned. Do you want us to be okay? Of course. Do you want my marriage to be okay? Yes. Even if Claire never gives you the apology you want? The question sat between us. I could have given him the mother answer. Yes, of course, whatever makes you happy. It would have relieved him and cost me very little in the moment. Instead, I said, I want your marriage to become honest enough that you don't need my silence to protect it. He stared at me. That sounds like something you practiced. I wish I had. What does honesty look like to you? Me telling Claire she ruined the wedding? Making her apologize until you approve the wording? Canceling brunch with her parents because the word bothers you now? No. Then what? You stop asking me to prove I love you by pretending you didn't hurt me. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. I walked back to the dining room and sat down. After a moment, he followed. We remained quiet long enough for the furnace to stop. I called 27 people, he said. For the cards? Yes. How was it? Exhausting. That sounds right. Marlene told me the gift wasn't technically from Richard because they maintain separate discretionary accounts. They almost divorced over a patio heater, she told me. Did she tell you who won? The wind. I laughed. Nathan stared at the bowl again. Walter said Dad used to call him every Sunday for years. I didn't know that. Why would you? He was my father. He was also other things. The thought seemed to bother him. I don't know any of those stories. You didn't ask. Neither did you. He was right. I had kept Robert's memory arranged for Nathan the way Claire arranged photographs. Father, husband, empty chair, white rose. I had protected the cleaner version because grief already felt heavy enough. Your father was generous, I said. He was vain about his chili. He hated conflict unless it belonged to someone else. He took care of Paul after his divorce and told no one. He forgot my birthday twice but remembered the date of our first electric bill. Nathan smiled faintly. Why the electric bill? It was $78 and he thought the power company had declared war. I would have liked to know that version. You can. He looked at me then, not as a problem or a solution, just at me. Can I have coffee after all? He asked. You said no, I've reconsidered. That happens when people have time. I made coffee. He drank it black because Claire had gotten him used to it, though he still made a face after the first sip. We did not solve anything. He did not apologize again. I did not ask him to. We talked about the folk concert, the garden, and the restaurant where Robert had ordered veal parmesan. Nathan had asked because he wanted to take Claire there for her birthday. I told him Robert liked the restaurant because the owner once let him return a bottle of wine he had already finished. That cannot be true, Nathan said. It shouldn't be. He left near midnight. At the front door, he turned toward the hallway. I'll get the boxes. Good, I mean it. I know. He kissed my cheek. I watched him walk to his car, then locked the door behind him. The arch case remained through November. Nathan scheduled 2 pickups and canceled both. The first time, Marcus needed his SUV. The second, Claire had a migraine. I stopped extending deadlines because each one turned my hallway into a courtroom. The boxes stayed, but no more arrived. Nathan began calling once or twice a week. At first, the conversations had the stiff courtesy of business calls. He asked how the garden was. I asked about work. We both avoided Sunday dinner. Then he came for coffee one Thursday evening. He brought pastries and did not ask me to fix, carry, store, remember, or explain anything. We sat for 40 minutes. He left the bakery box behind, but I decided that did not count as storage. Claire did not come with him. She sent a birthday card when I turned 65. The message inside was warm and formal. She wrote that she hoped the year brought me joy, peace, and new adventures. There was no mention of the wedding. I sent a thank you text. The distance between us became civilized. Cold weather ended our work in Ruth's garden. We covered the beds with straw and moved our Thursday meetings to her kitchen, where Paul pretended not to enjoy being included. Nathan joined us once. Ruth interrogated him about his job until he asked if she had considered law enforcement. I have ethical limits, she said. Paul choked on his coffee. For 2 hours, Nathan existed in a room where I was not the person responsible for his comfort. He survived. In early December, Claire emailed me. My parents' 40th anniversary is next month. We're doing a small dinner and a slideshow about the families that shaped ours. Could I borrow your old albums? I'd love childhood pictures of Nathan, especially holidays, birthdays, and family traditions. It would mean a lot to include the Mercer side. I read the email twice. The request was thoughtful. It was also exactly the kind of project I would once have taken over. I knew which albums contained Nathan's birthdays, Robert's disastrous Thanksgiving turkey, our first Christmas in the house, Paul teaching Nathan to drive. I could already imagine scanning, labeling, and arranging them by year. I closed the laptop. An hour later, Nathan called. Did you see Claire's email? Yes. She's trying. I know. Will you help? I looked down the hallway. The arch case leaned exactly where it had leaned the night he came to my door. I'll think about it, I said. His sigh carried all the way through the phone. Please don't turn this into another test. It isn't a test. Then what are you thinking about? Whether they wanted our family, I thought, or only the pictures? I'm thinking about what I'm willing to hand over, I said. They're just photographs, Nathan said. That's what I told myself at the wedding. He went quiet. I didn't mean it like that. I know. Claire isn't excluding you from this. You're invited to the dinner. That's not what I'm deciding. Then help me understand. I need to look at the albums first. Why? Because they're mine. The answer sounded defensive, even to me. Nathan took a breath. Okay. When will you know? Tomorrow. Can I tell Claire that? Yes. Thank you. He hung up with the careful politeness we had learned to use when the ground felt thin. The albums were in the cabinet beneath my bedroom window. There were 14 of them, arranged by year except for one labeled MISC, which covered everything from a broken washing machine to Paul dressed as a pirate at a hospital fundraiser. I carried the first 3 downstairs and opened them on the dining table. Nathan at 11, grinning beside the crooked fence he and Robert had built. Nathan at 13, asleep on the couch with a book open on his chest. Nathan and Paul beside a lake, both holding the same small fish because neither wanted the other to claim it. I turned pages slowly. There were pictures of Robert carving turkey, Robert hanging Christmas lights, Robert handing Nathan his high school diploma after asking to hold it for 1 second. In most of them, everyone looked toward me. Not at me. Toward me. I had taken the photographs. On Christmas mornings, I was the person behind the camera asking them to move closer. At birthdays, I cut the cake after documenting the candles. On vacations, I was a shadow stretched across the sand or a reflection in a rental car window. Claire had not invented a family where I could disappear from the record. She had simply edited according to a pattern already established. In one photograph, Nathan was 26 and home for Thanksgiving. He stood beside Robert at the kitchen counter, both wearing aprons, both pretending to prepare the turkey. I remembered what happened after the picture. Robert went to watch football. Nathan answered a phone call, and I spent 5 hours cooking. The photograph showed 2 men making dinner. I laughed out loud. It was either that or throw the album. The blue bowl sat at the other end of the table. I moved it aside and opened another book. Near the back, I found a picture Paul had taken without telling me. Nathan was 19. He and I sat on the front steps sharing a carton of takeout noodles. My hair was shorter. His shoes were untied. Neither of us faced the camera. He was talking, one hand lifted, and I was laughing at whatever he had said. It was not a good photograph by Claire's standards. The porch light gave everything a yellow cast. A garden hose crossed the background. My knee was cut off at the bottom. I removed it from the plastic sleeve. Then I selected 11 more. I chose Robert holding a smoke detector beneath a blackened Thanksgiving towel. Paul teaching Nathan to drive, his face braced for death. Nathan asleep on the couch. The crooked fence. A Christmas morning where my reflection appeared in the dark television screen. One formal portrait from my retirement party, because I had paid for the dress and intended to get further use from it. I scanned them but did not send them. Instead, I replied to Claire's email. I'm not comfortable lending the original albums or assembling the Mercer portion of the slideshow. I've selected 12 photographs I can send digitally, with names and dates. Some include me. Please use them together or not at all. Her response came 15 minutes later. I wasn't planning to exclude you. I wrote, I'm glad. The dots appeared. Can I ask why they have to be used together? Because otherwise I knew exactly which ones would survive. The cleanest ones. The images that supported the story she wanted to tell. I typed, they represent the family as I remember it. Claire replied, that's what I'm trying to honor. I sent. Then 12 should be enough. My phone rang. I answered because I was tired of constructing emotional barricades one sentence at a time. I don't understand what you think I'm doing, Claire said. Making a slideshow for my parents' anniversary. I know. Then why are you treating this like a negotiation? Because you asked for my albums. I asked to borrow family photographs. My family photographs. You're in my family too. The statement stopped me. Claire continued before I could answer. This dinner was supposed to be a way of showing how 2 families came together. My parents have been married 40 years. Nathan and I have been married 3 months. I thought it would be meaningful. It is meaningful. Then why are you making rules? Because I don't want to provide the raw material for another version of family closeness that exists mainly on a screen. Her silence sharpened. So this is still about the wedding. It is partly about the wedding. No, it is entirely about the wedding. Every dinner, every box, every request becomes evidence now. I'm not creating evidence. I'm noticing a pattern. You're controlling access to Nathan's own childhood because you want me to admit I'm some kind of monster. They're photographs I took, in albums I made. They're also his life. Yes, and I'm in it. I never said you weren't. You said the table was for people in the photos. Oh my God, the words came out not cruelly but desperately. I apologized, she said. You explained. I am sorry. There. I am sorry I said it. I was tired. I was trying to manage a table, and I did not stop to think about how it sounded. I wish I had said something else. The apology landed, but the explanation arrived wrapped around it so tightly I could barely separate them. Thank you, I said. That's it? What would you like me to do? She heard the borrowed question. I would like you to stop punishing us. I'm not. You won't have dinner with us. You won't help with thank you cards. You gave us a deadline for belongings you let us store for months. Now you're holding photographs hostage. You were invited to dinner at my house every Sunday for 2 years. And now I'm not. You haven't invited me to your home once since the wedding. That is not true. When? We tried to schedule something. When? She hesitated. I knew then that she had discussed inviting me, perhaps even intended to. In Claire's mind, intended kindness often arrived with the emotional credit of completed action. You're right, she said. We haven't. Then stop calling my absence a punishment when neither of you has made a place for me. You had a place. At the coffee station. She made a sound of pure frustration. That is exactly what I mean. You save these lines, Evelyn. You wait until someone says the wrong thing, and then you place the knife perfectly. The words struck because they were not entirely false. I don't want to fight with you, I said. You want to win without fighting. I'm sending 12 photographs under conditions. Yes, that's controlling. Then don't use them. She ended the call. Nathan arrived 40 minutes later. He did not knock. His key turned in the lock, the door opened, and he came down the hallway with his coat unbuttoned and anger bright in his face. What did you say to her? I was still at the dining table, albums open around me. Did she ask you to come? No. Does she know you're here? He ignored that. They are pictures of me. Yes. You can't tell us which pictures of my childhood we're allowed to use. I can tell you which ones I'm willing to provide. Why do you need this much control? I stood. You don't get to come into my house and shout at me. I'm not shouting. You're using the voice you think doesn't count. He pressed his lips together. Behind him, the arch case leaned against the wall. 2 ceremony boxes sat beneath it, exactly where they had been for almost 3 months. Nathan followed my eyes. Don't bring the boxes into this. You brought yourself into the room where they are. I told you I'd get them. You told me Sunday at 4, then the end of the month, then after Thanksgiving. We've been busy. So have I. They aren't hurting anything. They're in my hallway. You have plenty of space. There it was. Not cruelty. Assumption. I walked to the arch case and put my palm against it. You had plenty of time at your wedding. Plenty of chairs at brunch. Plenty of room in this house. Plenty of space in my week. Everything looks plentiful when it belongs to me. Nathan stared. That's not fair. No, it's convenient. He looked at the boxes, then down the hallway toward the guest room. The door stood open. The bed was made. His plastic tubs remained stacked in the closet, but the wedding debris was gone from the room. I said I'd deal with it. You mean eventually? I don't understand why the timing matters this much. Because every day they stay here is another day you assume my no will soften if you ignore it. His face changed. I saw him look at the shipping labels, the unopened package for Claire, and the arch case he had promised to collect again and again. "This isn't about storage," he said. "No, it's about everything." "Yes." He sat on the bottom stair. The anger went out of him so quickly it left him looking younger. "I don't know how to fix everything. I'm not asking you to." "Then what are you asking?" "To believe me before I have to build a case." He looked at the open albums. "Claire thinks you're trying to make her look cruel. I think Claire can be cruel and still be a person I care about." "You care about her?" "Yes. You don't act like it. I repaired her grandmother's wrap after she excluded me from every photograph. That's helping. You said helping isn't the same as loving." "No, I said being useful isn't the same as belonging." He rubbed both hands over his face. "I saw you," he said. "I know." "No." "At the pictures. I saw you come back from the shuttle. I saw you waiting beside the planter. I did not move. I knew we hadn't gotten one," he continued. "I knew if I stopped everything, Claire would say we were behind." The photographer was already irritated. "Paige kept moving people, and I thought you'd understand." "I did understand. That's worse." "Yes." He looked up at me. "I knew Claire would be upset if I interrupted the schedule, and I knew you would tell me it was fine. So I chose the person who would make it easier. The truth was not new. I had already named it. He had admitted pieces of it in the guest room, but this was the first time he said it without hiding behind the wedding, the schedule, or Claire. "You chose where to put the hurt," I said. "Yes." "And at brunch?" I saw her hand on the chair. "Did you hear what she said?" "Yes." "Why didn't you move?" "Because everybody heard. Because I was embarrassed. Because I wanted the moment to disappear." "So you made me disappear." His eyes filled, but he did not look away. "Yes." The word entered the hallway and stayed. I sat on the step above him. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then I said, "I taught you I would accept it." He frowned. "I spent years telling you not to worry about me. I made every disappointment easy. I thought that was love. It was. Partly. You were my mom. I still am." He looked down at his hands. "I don't know you outside of that." "I know. That sounds terrible. It sounds incomplete." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "I'm sorry." This time there was no explanation attached. I felt the apology. I also felt every part of me that wanted to end the discomfort by telling him it was fine. I did not. "Thank you," I said. After a moment, Nathan nodded toward the albums. "What are the 12? I showed him. He laughed at the smoke detector picture and held the porch photograph by its edges. "I remember this," he said. "What were you telling me? That I'd quit my job? You didn't quit. You told me not to make a permanent decision because my manager wore too much cologne. I stand by that." He studied the picture. "You should send these." "I will. All 12. That was the offer. And if Claire chooses not to use them, then she doesn't." He nodded. The boxes were still behind us. "I'll rent a van tomorrow," he said. "I don't need another promise." He looked at the arch case. "No," he said, "you don't." The next morning at 9, a white cargo van pulled into my driveway. Nathan carried every remaining wedding box out himself. He took the arch case, Claire's package, the plastic tubs from the guest room closet, and his rehearsal suit. I helped with nothing. Before he left, he picked up the ceramic mug from the dresser. "Do you want this?" he asked. I looked at Wold's best mom and the uneven red heart beneath it. "It was made for me," I said. He set it back down. "Yes," he said, "it was." The van left 2 pale tire marks on the damp street. I stood in the guest room doorway. Without the tubs, garment rack, chargers, signs, and bags, the room looked larger than I remembered. The afternoon light reached the baseboard where the boxes had been. Dust outlined their old shapes on the floor. I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt the way I had after Nathan moved into his first apartment, relieved to have the space, offended by the space, and embarrassed that a room could accuse me of abandonment. The ceramic mug remained on the dresser. I carried it downstairs and placed it beside the blue bowl. Ruth came over that afternoon to inspect the empty room. "It needs a chair," she said. "It has a bed. A bed is a horizontal chair for people who've surrendered. I was thinking of a small bookcase. You already have books everywhere. That is generally why people acquire bookcases." She walked to the window. "You could put a desk here. I'm retired." Desks existed before employment. Paul arrived without being invited and suggested a television. Ruth said televisions in guest rooms encouraged guests to stay. Paul said that was the point. Ruth asked if he understood hospitality. He asked if she understood cable. They argued while I stood in the center of the room, smiling. A boundary had left a space. I still did not know what belonged there, but the emptiness no longer frightened me enough to fill it immediately. That evening, I emailed the 12 photographs to Claire. She responded, "Received. Thank you." 2 hours later, another message arrived. "I'll use them together." I stared at that sentence longer than it deserved. "Thank you," I wrote. The anniversary dinner was held in the private room of an Italian restaurant where the walls were painted to resemble a Tuscan village nobody in Tuscany would have recognized. Small lights wrapped around artificial olive trees. A plaster balcony projected from one wall without a door, suggesting an architectural emergency. Paul came with me. Claire had invited him because he appeared in 3 of the photographs and because, as she wrote in her email, he was part of the family story. He wore a dark suit and a tie patterned with tiny trumpets. "Those look like martini glasses," I told him. "They're trumpets." "Why?" It was on sale. Denise and Alan stood near the entrance greeting guests. Denise wore burgundy and looked radiant. Alan's tie had already shifted sideways. Denise kissed the air beside my cheeks. "I'm glad you came. Happy anniversary." She held my hands for a moment. "I meant what I said before, but I'm sorry I got involved." The apology was compressed so tightly that opening it would have caused damage. "I know you were worried about Claire. I was, and I'm here." "Yes." We left it there. Alan hugged me and whispered, 40 years. I've completed several government sentences." Denise heard him. "You wouldn't last 40 minutes without me. I wouldn't know where you keep the minutes." They moved toward the next guests, bickering comfortably. There were no place cards. I noticed immediately and disliked myself for noticing. Round tables filled the room. Claire stood near one with Nathan, speaking to her grandmother. She wore a dark green dress and her grandmother's pale wrap, the repaired clasp resting neatly at her shoulder. When she saw me, her hand moved toward it. "Hi," she said. "Hello." She touched the clasp, still holding. I used strong thread. "I believe it." Nathan kissed my cheek, then hugged Paul. "I heard the boxes are gone," Paul said. Nathan looked at me. "All of them." "Should I notify the city?" "Only if they regulate gold plates. They regulate everything eventually." Claire gestured toward the tables. "You can sit wherever you'd like." The sentence came out carefully. Her eyes flicked toward mine, and I knew she had heard the echo. "Thank you," I said. I chose a chair beside Paul. Nathan and Claire sat across from us, with Claire's grandmother and Alan's brother between them. No one placed a bag or wrap in the empty chair beside me. The waiter removed it when no additional guest arrived. Dinner passed without disaster. Paul debated the proper ratio of garlic to butter with Claire's grandmother. Nathan asked about Ruth's garden. Claire explained that the gold charger plates had been sold online to a woman planning a retirement banquet. "For less than we paid," Nathan said. "That is how used objects work," Claire said. "We bought them used. They became more used." I drank my wine. At dessert, the lights dimmed. Claire stood beside the screen and introduced the slideshow. She spoke about her parents' marriage, the homes and people that had shaped them, and the example she and Nathan hoped to follow. The first images belonged to Denise and Alan. Their wedding portrait appeared, followed by vacations, holidays, bad hair, new houses, and dinners around a table that changed over the years. Then came Nathan's family. All 12 photographs appeared, not hidden among dozens, not cropped, not corrected. The porch picture filled the screen. Nathan and I sat with our takeout noodles, turned toward each other beneath the yellow light. People laughed when the smoke detector photograph appeared. Paul objected loudly to the picture of him teaching Nathan to drive because it made his hair look defensive. No one applauded me. No one announced that justice had been restored. The slideshow moved on. That made it easier to breathe. I looked across the table. Nathan was not watching the screen. He was watching me. After dessert, I carried my coffee into the small hallway outside the private room. I needed a minute away from the artificial olive trees and family history. Claire followed me. "I didn't know if you'd like how I arranged them," she said. "You used all 12. I said I would. Yes. She folded her arms, then unfolded them. I almost didn't use the retirement portrait. Why? It looked formal beside the others. Visually uncohesive? Her mouth tightened. I regretted the remark before she answered. "Yes," she said. "Actually." I waited. But then I realized that was exactly the kind of decision you were worried about. Thank you for leaving it. It was a good dress. It was expensive. Claire smiled faintly. Through the doorway, Alan began telling a story about his honeymoon. Denise shouted that he was already changing details. Claire looked toward them. "I didn't think you weren't family," she said. "You thought the table made sense." "Yes." The honesty surprised me. "At the time," she added. "Why?" She stared into her coffee. "Because you weren't in the formal pictures. Because there was one seat. Because my grandmother wanted her wrap nearby. Because I had spent a year planning where every person and object would go, and by Sunday morning I couldn't stand one more change. One chair. I know. And you knew what the sentence sounded like." Claire's face changed. "Yes," she said. I had expected another explanation. The simple answer left me nowhere to push. She continued quietly. "I knew it was mean. I told myself it was practical, because that made it easier. I thought of Nathan saying he had chosen the person who would make the hurt easier. They had not invented each other's worst habits. They had recognized them. "I'm sorry," Claire said. "Not for confusion, not for your interpretation. I'm sorry I said it, and I'm sorry I let Nathan move you instead of the chair." There it was. It did not undo the wedding. It did not make me trust her. It did not even make me like her in that moment. But it was an apology. "Thank you," I said. Her shoulders lowered. "I still think you use silence to punish people," she said. There was Claire. "I think you use explanations to avoid apologizing. I just apologized." "You did. So maybe we both contain multitudes." I laughed. She looked startled, then laughed too. It lasted only a second. "I don't know what happens now," she said. "Neither do I. Nathan misses Sunday dinners. He knows my number. He thinks inviting himself would be wrong. That has never stopped him before. He's trying not to assume." I looked into the private room. Nathan was listening to Paul demonstrate something with 2 dessert forks. "Good," I said. Claire nodded. She returned to the table before me. I stayed in the hallway another minute, holding my coffee and feeling no clean triumph. Claire had apologized. I had accepted the apology. Neither action guaranteed future kindness. Families like to treat apologies as receipts, paid in full, transaction complete. I had begun to think they were closer to promises made after damage. The value depended on what happened next. Nathan called the following Tuesday. "Lunch?" he asked. "When?" "Thursday. I have Ruth on Thursday. You have Ruth." "The garden. It's January. We're ordering seeds. Is that a full-day process?" "With Ruth, possibly." He laughed. "Friday? I'm free. We met at a diner near my old office. Nathan arrived first and did not sit until I did, which was so unlike him, I wondered whether he had watched an instructional video. Our conversation was awkward. He asked what I had been reading. I gave him the title, and he immediately forgot it. I asked about his work. He described a reorganization using acronyms I did not understand. We talked around Claire's apology without mentioning it until the check arrived. "She told me what she said to you," he said. "I'm glad she told you. Do you believe her?" "Yes." "Do you forgive her?" I'm not ready to make that sentence do all the work. He looked at the check. Are you still angry? Sometimes. At me? Yes. He nodded slowly. Okay, that was all. No defense, no request for an expiration date. He paid for lunch. I let him. We met again the next week and walked through a home supply store because I needed paint samples for the guest room. Nathan preferred gray. I told him gray was not a color. It was an administrative decision. What are you making the room into? He asked. I haven't decided. You could put in a desk. Ruth said that. Ruth is wise. Never tell her. She'll begin charging. He chose a muted blue sample. I chose a warmer one. We took both home and painted squares on the wall. Neither was right. He left without asking me to make dinner. I stood in the guest room after he had gone, looking at the 2 blue squares and the ceramic mug on the dresser. The visits continued. Sometimes Nathan came alone. Sometimes he mentioned Claire so carefully that her name sounded breakable. He learned that I met Ruth and Paul most Thursdays, that I had joined a monthly book group at the library, and that I hated kohlrabi despite helping grow it. I learned that he had begun calling Walter on Sundays. By March, the garden bed was green again. Claire and I exchanged occasional messages. She sent a photograph of her grandmother wearing the repaired wrap. I sent her Ruth's opinion that the clasp would outlive us all. She responded with a laughing face. We were not close. We were no longer pretending that politeness was closeness. One Wednesday evening, Nathan called while I was cleaning dirt from my gardening shoes. Are you free Saturday? He asked. For what? Dinner at our place. I sat on the back step. Is there an occasion? No. Who else is coming? No one. I waited. He added. Claire asked if you'd come. Did she? Yes. Do I need to bring anything? No. Does she know you said that? She made me promise. I smiled. What time? 6? I'll be there. On Saturday, I stood outside their door holding a bottle of wine I had bought anyway. Before I could knock, the door opened. Nathan looked at the bottle, then at me. You were told not to bring anything. I brought myself. The wine is incidental. He smiled and stepped aside. This time, the place beside him was open. Their apartment smelled like rosemary and something slightly burned. Claire appeared from the kitchen wearing an apron over black pants and a white blouse. You brought wine, she said. I did. I told him to tell you not to bring anything. He did. Nathan took the bottle from me. She's going through a rebellious phase. I've been difficult since the garden. Claire almost smiled. The apartment looked different from the last time I had been there. Wedding gifts had replaced several pieces of mismatched furniture. The gold plates were gone, but one glass candle holder sat on the coffee table with a small succulent in it. 3 framed wedding photographs hung above the couch. Claire beneath the flower arch, Nathan laughing with Marcus, the newlyweds walking beneath the sparklers. I looked away before they could notice me looking. Dinner needs 10 minutes, Claire said. That means 25, Nathan told me. It means 10 if you stop opening the oven. How does opening it slow anything? The heat comes out. It's an oven, not a submarine. I followed them into the kitchen. Claire had made roast chicken, potatoes, and green beans. The counters were crowded with mixing bowls, lemon halves, herb stems, and a cookbook opened beneath a wooden spoon. A saucepan simmered on the stove. Can I do anything? I asked. No, they said together. Nathan pointed toward the dining table. Sit. I can pour the wine. I can pour wine. You once put ice in Cabernet. I was 30. You were 38. Claire turned from the stove. Evelyn. Yes? Please sit down. Her tone was firm but not sharp. I sat. It was surprisingly difficult. From the table, I watched Nathan fight with the corkscrew while Claire whisked the sauce. He opened 3 cabinet doors and left all of them hanging. Cabinets, I said. Claire turned. Nathan looked around, genuinely confused. What? Your mother warned you, Claire said. About what? 6 years. Decorative pillow. He glanced at me. I lifted my hands. I tried. He closed the cabinet doors. When the chicken came out, the skin was dark enough to require interpretation. Claire stared at it. "It's ruined." "It smells good," I said. "It's burned." Nathan leaned over the roasting pan. "Only the ambitious parts." "What does that mean?" "The top. The top is the part people see." I watched Claire's face tighten. A year earlier, I would have stood immediately. I would have found a carving knife, removed the dark skin, rearranged the meat on a platter, and praised the smoky flavor until everyone agreed the mistake had been intentional. My hands remained in my lap. Nathan picked up the carving knife. "Do you know how to carve it?" Claire asked. "No." "Then why are you holding the knife?" It felt like leadership. Claire closed her eyes. I looked at the chicken, then at my son. "Start at the joint," I said. He did. The first leg came away neatly. The second tore half the breast with it. "Different joint," I said. Claire laughed. The sauce had broken, the potatoes needed salt, and the green beans were excellent. We ate all of it. At first, conversation moved carefully. Nathan asked about the library book group. Claire told me about a new supervisor at work who scheduled meetings through lunch and brought a salad to prove it was legal. I described Paul's campaign against the Neighborhood Association's proposed mailbox regulations. "He made a chart," I said. Nathan nodded. "Of course he made a chart. It has colors. Did anyone ask for it?" That would have cheapened the gesture. By the second glass of wine, the air loosened. Claire told us Denise had begun planning her and Alan's 41st anniversary because the 40th had gone almost too well. "My mother doesn't trust success," she said. "She thinks it creates expectations. She and I have that in common," I said. The remark slipped out before I could decide whether it was kind. Claire considered it. "Yes," she said. "You do." Nathan looked between us. I could feel him preparing to smooth the moment. He stopped himself. The silence remained uncomfortable for several seconds, then passed on its own. That was new. After dinner, Claire brought out a lemon cake from a bakery. She admitted this before I could praise her baking. I needed one guaranteed outcome, she said. "A wise decision," I told her. Nathan cut slices large enough for a prison farewell. When he handed me mine, Claire said, "We were talking about Sunday dinners." Nathan gave her a look. "We said we wouldn't do this tonight. We said we wouldn't pressure her. It's still dinner. It's cake," I said. Everyone remained calm. Claire folded her napkin. "I don't want you to think we expect you to start cooking for us every week again." "I don't think that. I miss it," Nathan said. "I know. But I understand why you stopped." Claire glanced at him, then at me. "I missed it too," she said, "even before the wedding." I took a bite of cake. "What part?" She frowned. "What do you mean? The food? The routine? My company?" It was a sharper question than the evening required. I knew that as soon as I heard it. Nathan set down his fork. Claire did not retreat. "All three," she said. "Though sometimes your company made me nervous." "Why?" "Because you notice everything." "I don't. You notice the charger plates were the wrong gold. They were very gold. You noticed I switched the stuffing at Thanksgiving. You used chestnuts. I like chestnuts. They're difficult to ignore." Claire smiled, then became serious. "I felt like I was always being evaluated against the way you did things. I never expected you to do things my way. You didn't have to say it. I felt the old urge to defend my silence as harmless. It wasn't always harmless. I can see how it felt that way," I said. Nathan looked at me, but I kept my attention on Claire. "I liked feeding you," I continued. "I liked having both of you in my house. But somewhere along the way, I began acting as if everything depended on me doing it properly. That wasn't fair to any of us." "It was good stuffing," Nathan said. Claire turned to him. "You told me it tasted like a forest floor, a complimentary forest floor." I laughed. Claire did too, though she kicked him beneath the table. "We could do dinner once a month," she said. "Rotate houses. No one person hosts all the time." Nathan opened his mouth. I answered before he could. "I'd like that." "You don't have to decide now," Claire said. "I just did." She nodded. "No assigned seating," Nathan added. Claire looked at him. That joke is old. It's 3 months old. It was never funny. It has historical significance. She began collecting dessert plates. Nathan stood and took them from her. I've got it. You carved the chicken. You've contributed. I mutilated the chicken. Still labor. I reached for my cup. Claire put her hand over the saucer. For 1 second, none of us moved. Her eyes widened. She had felt the echo at the same moment I did. Then she lifted her hand. I was going to clear it, she said quietly. I know. Nathan looked between us. Claire picked up the cup and carried it to the kitchen. The moment did not become a speech. No one apologized to the furniture. Nathan cleared the rest of the table. I remained seated. Through the kitchen doorway, Claire loaded the dishwasher while Nathan wrapped the leftover chicken. They disagreed about which container to use. Neither asked me. When they finished, Claire checked her phone. My mother called twice. Everything okay? I asked. She probably forgot the password to her streaming account. Again, Nathan said, she believes passwords should describe your emotional state at the time you create them. That's not secure. It's not memorable either. Claire carried her phone toward the bedroom. I'm going to call her before she contacts emergency services. She paused beside me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for asking. After she left, Nathan made coffee. He brought 2 cups to the table and sat across from me. You okay? He asked. Yes. You sure? I'm capable of saying no now. I've noticed. There was no resentment in it. He drank his coffee. I bought something. Should I be worried? Probably not. He went to the hall closet and returned with a small camera in a brown leather case. It was not an expensive professional camera. It looked practical, solid, and a little old-fashioned. Claire says my phone takes better pictures, he said. She may be right. I wanted one that makes me stop and think before I take it. He opened the case. I've been calling people for the thank you cards, and after Walter, I started calling some of them again. He sent me pictures of Dad I'd never seen. Paul sent me the driving picture and one from the lake. The fish was mine. He says otherwise. He would. Nathan rested both hands on the camera. I have hundreds of pictures from graduations, vacations, birthdays, the wedding, every event that was supposed to matter. I waited. I don't have many pictures of the people who made the days possible. You have pictures of us. I have pictures of you when someone remembered to pull you in at the end. The accuracy of it hurt. I thought maybe we could take one tonight, he said. You and me. My shoulders tightened. He noticed. What? I don't want to pose for proof that everything is fixed. That isn't what I meant, I know. His disappointment appeared before he could hide it. The sight of it tempted me to agree. I could stand beside him, smile, let the camera certify the evening. Instead, I said, I'm not ready for that. Nathan looked down at the camera. Then he placed it on the table. Okay, no argument. No explanation of why my reaction was unfair. No request that I reconsider for his sake. He pushed back his chair. Can I sit beside you? The question was so simple I almost missed what it cost him to ask. Yes. He moved to the chair on my right. For a while, we drank coffee without speaking. Then he asked whether I had decided what to do with the guest room. Not yet. You've had 6 months. Some things take time. Apparently. I painted it. What color? The blue you didn't choose. I knew you'd pick the wrong one. I turned toward him. You chose office carpet. It was dignified. It was surrender. He laughed. Claire returned, still holding her phone. My mother's password was Hopeful Tuesday, she said. She created it on a Friday. Nathan was facing me, describing why gray walls were calming. I was explaining that waiting rooms were also gray. Claire reached for the camera. I saw her hand and stopped. She looked at me, not at Nathan. At me. She did not lift it until I nodded. The shutter clicked once. That was all. She set the camera down and joined us for coffee. We stayed at the table long after the cups were empty. Nathan cleared them himself. Claire brought more cake. I told them about Robert's war with the electric company and the first winter in our house, when the furnace rattled so violently we slept in coats and pretended it was camping. No one asked me to make the story shorter or the evening easier. The next morning, Nathan sent the photograph. In it, he and I were not looking at the camera. We were turned toward each other, both halfway into an argument about paint. My mouth was open. His hand rested on the table beside mine. I looked tired. He looked stubborn. Neither of us looked arranged. Behind us were 3 dirty coffee cups, the remains of the lemon cake, and an open cabinet door he had forgotten to close. I saved the picture. Then I sent him one message. "Close your cabinets." His reply came immediately. "Don't worry about me, Mom." I laughed. For once I didn't.